Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning. Might work a little better if I turn my microphone, my camera on. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The Morning Glow. Welcome to another episode of The Morning Glow. Got a great broadcast lineup for you this morning, as I hope and I pray that we always do. But before we go another step further, I got to say, I'm just Raheem. I ain't important. I'm just a question asker. I got to say good morning to my brother from another mother, but we got the same father. This is Captain Leonard. Good morning, sir. How you doing this morning?
Good morning, Raheem and the Morning Glow family.
Leonard, catch us up, brother. Catch us up to speed. How we looking on the political track?
Things are still going along. I believe they have concluded the questioning and things like that for the committee for the confirmation for the Supreme Court. So that's good that foolishness has come to an end,
That's exactly what I was thinking, man. The foolish.
and they can move on and get her in that seat
Mm-hmm.
when Justice Bayer vacates, and so we can actually see changes in that court and maybe some better opinions
Yeah,
come
yeah.
out of the court.
Cory Booker. I've seen, and people has been showing a lot about what he said and how he expressed himself about this whole situation and how he felt about her. How did that touch you, Leonard, at all, or did it touch you? His stance.
Well, Cory Booker is a good guy,
Yeah.
and he's always going to be there to support others whom he believes in and being in certain seats. And he's
Mm-hmm.
always done that in these hearings. But that shows you the character and the integrity of
Yes.
some people that serve the government
Mm-hmm.
and what they look for and what they're trying to do. I'm not saying
Mm-hmm.
that they're perfect or that they're going to do everything that you like, but
Yeah.
when it comes to simple decisions of what's best for America, he's
Mm-hmm.
always going to push people forward and give them what they say, give them their flowers.
Mm-hmm.
Let the people know
Yeah.
who that person is if they haven't met her before, and definitely let you know about his relationship to that person
Mm-hmm.
and why he believes that they should be allowed that position and that much authority on something so important as the Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm. He is one of the ones that actually spoke up and stood up for her.
Mhm.
Were you disappointed, Leonard, that there were not others or more people that was actually speaking up for her in that regard?
Well, if you've watched quite a few of these, you do understand that there's a position that people play,
Mm-hmm.
and that is one of the positions that Cory Booker usually will play. Is he will go ahead and extol and let people know not just the committee, but he's aware that the people are watching,
Yeah.
and to bring out that part of that the nominee Jackson, to bring out the human part in her, is to
Mm-hmm.
connect her with the people and why they would be better off with her being a part of the Supreme Court. Because definitely the other side, trust me, these things are very, very rehearsed,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so strategies. And of course, you see one side asking certain questions we saw, and then
Mm-hmm.
you had the other side coming back and reiterating rational common sense thinking.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we watch that go back and forth, and I think that Booker just does a great job, like a lot of the other senators or what have you, when it comes to making sure that the people know here's the truth of the matter, here's
Mm-hmm.
what it's really about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't be don't be persuaded by these nasty things that people say
Mm-hmm.
that are not true. Here's the real deal about this person. Go look it up if you want to. Look at their record. It's an open book, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And that
Mm-hmm.
the people, that type of transparency that Booker usually portrays is that, hey, I'm here to let the people know what's really going on and to
Mm-hmm.
put it in the language they can understand, introduce them to people that they may or may not know before you allow this other side to try to destroy their reputation. These people are
Mm-hmm.
trying to destroy a person who has had an excellent career, are trying to destroy her reputation and keep her from getting a position in a week.
Wow.
In a week.
what is the overall, from where you're standing, Leonard, and from your expertise in your past, what is the overall motivation for them doing this?
We discussed it yesterday. We know what it is. It's one.
Mm-hmm.
It's they would rather not have that woman on the Supreme Court, and they would
Mm-hmm.
rather not have her on the Supreme Court because one, she is more moderate when it comes to certain things. She just don't toe the line. She
Mm-hmm.
interested in the justice of the matter because you have to remember this is a actual branch of government job that she's trying to get, and they have a particular mission that are
Mm-hmm.
protecting an interpretation of the Constitution. So they hate the fact that she will most likely be as non-biased when making these decisions. She will actually think about the American people instead of thinking about corporate interests. Should not be an issue.
Mm-hmm.
But if they had anything of substance, it would raise a question in people's mind that would say, hey, do I really want this person on the court?
Mm-hmm.
But they usually don't have much of substance. So all we've seen is people just putting on acts. And it
Mm-hmm.
just didn't work this time.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't very even as awful as they can be, these was just they're so simple. I mean, it's not wasn't they've done so much worse
Mm-hmm.
to other people. So this nominee is just really above their level when it comes to certain things.
So they don't know how to take her, basically.
No, they just are not intelligent enough to trap her and make her
You
look stupid.
I thought that was where I was going, but I didn't want to put it out there just like that, Leonard. I was trying to be a little more discreet, and but Ray, good morning, Ray. How you doing this morning?
Good morning, man. How y'all doing?
Hey, doing good, doing good. We're talking about the judge, the young lady that's getting the seat.
Mm,
Why do you
okay.
why what do you think is going on? What do you think the whole motivation with the line of the questioner that they're doing right now? And like Leonard said, we spoke about this yesterday and a couple of days ago. They've done this to a lot of different people, but what is the motivation in doing this and trying to make the person look bad? What is the real motivation, Ray?
Honestly, I don't think it's a motivation. I think it's a toxic trait that they just all have at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Like it doesn't happen as frequent to certain demographics, but at this point, even if it was, it's hard to tell
Mm-hmm.
because I don't know. It's just hard for me to tell right now. Because to me, I look at stuff of from a data or information perspective, and then when the data information does or does not match, that's how I create my intelligence. So
Mm-hmm.
I personally don't know enough or have enough or have seen enough to be like if they're targeting her for who she is or what she is or who she's with
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. But as far as the questions, they
Mm-hmm.
come with that hogwash every time.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they're just at this point they're just toxic.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? They fish for agenda. Essentially, they ask questions to see if you're going to agree with their agenda.
Mm-hmm. Do you think they're trying to stir the water a little bit with some of these questions? Stir the water with some of the people that may be quote unquote in their corner, and stir them up a little bit, and have them to come out the gates with her, not liking her, not wanting her to be there, and
Well, they're trying to establish with with the questions if she's on their side or not, and
yeah,
that'll let
yeah,
people know inadvertently. That's
exactly.
how they do it. They throw the
Hmm.
questions out, and she doesn't answer them or does answer them or how she answers them. They're like, okay, we can chalk her to this group, to this group, or to this group,
Hmm.
or we can say she's on our side or not on our side. That's what's going on right now. They're just filling her out.
But Ray, my issue with that, and you're absolutely right. I believe you're right in what you're saying and your assessment of it. But my issue with that is they're supposed to be for the American people. All this side and this click and that click, man, what is that doing for the American people? It doesn't make sense to me.
I mean, you gotta. So I get that, but the judicial system or the this politics or when you enter that echelon of government, they're not. They stop. being for the American people when America became an organization versus a
Absolutely.
government.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
for the at that level, and at at that level, they don't care about nobody.
Mm-hmm.
It's all to strengthen this corporation known as the
Wow.
United States of America,
Mm-hmm.
and that's probably going to be the biggest problem with her.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to see if she's for the corporation versus America as the idea of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're running into. I
Yeah.
don't necessarily think that, like I said, I don't know enough about her or seen enough to make an accurate assessment, but it's interesting to see how it all unfolds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Raheem, we have to remember that they have already confirmed six other previous justices that Biden has nominated. And
Mm-hmm.
also, this particular Congress, they almost over 50 judges have been appointed.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Mm. Mm. Why her and why now? Badger, I asked the question, and good morning. How you doing this morning? I
Good
asked the
morning.
question. I asked the question, man. Why the clicks? Why this click? Why that click? Why can't the people that's supposed to represent us and not be in all this little cliquish situation and me against you and we us against everybody? How could it be that way? These are supposed to be the people that's supposed to represent us, Badger. How do we get here?
uh, I try to,
Come on, Badger.
man. I talk about that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's from history. People learned and was taught, well, not learned. They lit for generations. People have been taught to be selfish and greedy.
Mm.
Um, People were taught to you can own other people. Um, Taught to manipulate and lie to one another. Um, for self gain, and it's ran rampant.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like coming from the topic that y'all were just, talking about, the candidate. I was having a conversation last night because there's just one of the questions that were asked. They asked her, "What is the definition of a woman?"
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "I can't answer that in that context or something like that." And they're like, and everyone that like we sit there and it's like it's really weird that someone that's supposed to be for a supreme judge is not only refusing but says they can't answer it because they're not a biologist.
Mm-hmm.
With all the stuff that's going on right now about, there was a male that transformed into a woman, if I'm understanding the story correct, and ended up winning the swimming race
Yes.
or some kind of swimming competition,
Mm-hmm.
and it upset a lot of women.
Yeah. Yeah.
So them asking that question, was that trying to, stir the pot in with the fact that she's not answering a question that most people would view as simple.
Mm-hmm.
Like I kind of want to ask the people on the panel, you and everything, do you think she should have answered just in a straightforward way, what is a woman?
There's so many different layers to that question and why that question was answered. And it goes back to one of the things that Ray was saying earlier. I think that they're trying to jockey for position and find out what position she's going to play in this. I don't think it had anything to do with the question itself because people know what a woman is. You're asking a woman what is a woman. And so naturally, hopefully, she does know. And I will not even insult her intelligence to think that she would does not know what a woman is. But that I don't think that had anything to do with the question. I think it had more to do with the fact of them just trying to jockey for position. How is she going to answer this question? And like Ray said, where does she stand on this issue? Leonard, what do you say to that?
I think she answered the question from that same point of view. She very
Mm-hmm.
strategic answers.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why he asked her the question was not because he did not know, it's because he has a
Exactly.
formed opinion on what he wanted justice, how he wants a justice to make a decision. The
Mm-hmm.
message she sent to him was, "I'll make my own decision at that time in the
Mm-hmm.
particular context of the particular case that is presented."
Mm-hmm.
It was
Because
a
she won't be asked off court her definition of a woman.
Mm-hmm.
But when it has to do with a particular case that's in a particular context,
Mm-hmm.
it was a woman that asked her that
yeah,
question.
because she could have told him go look it up in the dictionary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Next,
Look it up on look it up for yourself. Ray, what's on your heart? What do you find? What was the basis you think of that particular question?
Yeah, it was to figure out who she's gonna align with, but also you gotta. It's not just one street; it's two streets to this. If she doesn't answer the question, then that means she has an agenda.
Mm-hmm.
Because put it in perspective, if someone the lack thereof of information or whatever it is means that there's already something moving in their mind. So you got to look at both ways. So if
Mm-hmm.
she does answer the question, she most likely has an alignment with them in this degree. If she doesn't answer the question, that means 9 times out of 10, especially in that field, she she can't she can't show her hand or show her cards yet.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
It does make sense, but my thing is the way I took it, and like I say, nobody's right or wrong, and we don't know exactly what it is that she was thinking or what she was doing. We're just viewing it from where we're sitting. But my thing is, I think that she was saying at that particular time, you're not going to control or put my pieces of the puzzle where you want to, my pieces of the game where you want to put them. You're not going to place me where you want to place me. I'm not going to answer that question because I'm not going to allow you to do that with me right now at this particular time. I tend to agree a little bit with how Leonard said it. You're not gonna you're jockeying for position, but you're not gonna position me where you want me to be. When that particular issue come up and I have to deal with that, that's when I would make my decision based on that situation. Now, this situation dealing with the guy that became that quote unquote transitional or whatever the case, and became a woman or wanted to become a woman. Everybody look at that thing and the way they want to look at it, and went on and won all these medals in swimming. That's a particular situation that needs to be handled in a specific way. Now, the next situation that come along may be different. You can't. There's no cookie cutter how you deal with this whole situation when in regards to because in this day and time, brother, ain't no telling what's coming to the table.
Yeah, but I like to present a question just as devil's advocate. If you
Mhm,
can't answer a question as simple as what's a woman, right? And if we're talking in regards to NCAA and
mhm,
NCAA regulations, because that's what it was, it was
mhm,
for you have to have 3 sessions of hormone activity
mhm,
of hormones to be considered the next gender or the opposite gender. Those are the rules.
mhm,
It could go as deep as 64 hormone treatments to actually see a change.
mhm,
So he had the required amount, just the required amount. I think he had like triple it actually, but he still performed exceedingly well. He's like 432 for men.
mhm,
That's his rank in NCAA. 432,
mhm, mhm.
and
But
he ranked number 1 in women instantly. So the problem is, so this is me playing devil's advocate. If you can't answer a question as simple as what is a woman, and this is not the first time that it showed up in sports, and it's not the first time it showed up in NCAA, then how
mhm.
are you going to be able to handle situations like that?
Now let me ask you a question off your question. That particular question, with all the layers that question has, can we categorize it as a simple question? A question as simple. that question to me is not simple at all.
Well, please explain how it gets more complicated than what is a woman.
Because what do you think the basis of that question was as simple as what is a woman? Do you think that's all that was that's all that's tied into that particular question? What is a woman? Do you think that's
No, they're definitely fishing for other things. But as
exactly?
far as the question and the
Hmm.
stance on it, that's simple. You
The
can
question.
still say your stance or say something and hold different to a particular stance or not. If you says if you say your favorite color is red and my
Hmm.
favorite color is red, that don't
Hmm.
make you a Republican.
Hmm. Hmm. Exactly. But my thing is this right here. I think the question itself was a bait. The question was a
Yeah,
bait,
it
and
it
and
it
it,
100% is it
yeah,
100% was a bait.
yeah. And
But
so
like
my
I
thing
said,
is this right here. Hold on. My thing is this right here. If that question was a bait, and I know it was a bait. Now I have to deal. I have to deal with it within myself. How am I going to deal with this bait question that you put out there? And if I decide not to answer that bait question that you put out there, am I wrong? Because your intentions was terribly off to even put it out there like that. And
no,
so,
you're not.
how
You're
am I
not
going?
wrong
How am I
for
going to be
answering.
looked at as a bad guy? How
I'm
am I
sorry.
going to be looked at? And I don't mean to cut y'all, brother, but how am I going to be looked upon as the bad guy because I did not answer a bait question that you put out there?
I
So
can
no,
answer
it's not.
that.
You're not wrong for what you think and how you view it. But this is two sides of the street now. When
Hmm.
I check you on not answering that question because you have something already in mind or you're already aligned, and that doesn't allow you to answer that question.
Hmm.
You got to look at it that like you got to take a step further. If if you're unbiased and you're going straight law, then it should not matter if you answer the question or not. You're right.
Hmm.
So to me saying to say I don't want to answer the question is fine. To
Hmm.
say I can't answer that question, I'm not a biologist, is BS.
Hmm.
See, if
Well.
you answer the question straight, I'm
Hmm.
not answering that. Next question, keep it moving. You're good. But once you start to throw extra stuff in like that, we the people know that that's not necessary. I can see a car. I'm not a mechanic.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know what I'm
But
saying? So it's
mhm,
just like you're starting to show your hand. You're
if I
showing your hand now.
if I answer that, I'm gonna go on. I'm gonna go to Leonard and Charles is coming back and forth. Ian, he may be having some issues. He may be traveling. But my thing is this right here, and we just had somebody else calling on the phone now, so I want to pull them into the conversation as well. But my thing is this right here. I could even if I answered that question today, answer that question today based on that situation with the swimmer. Now next week something else could come along that's totally different. Now you're gonna hold my answer that I said today on that case, and you know they're gonna try to flip it the way they want to flip it. They're gonna try to take my answer to that particular instance and apply it to this right here, and it could be something totally different. So my answer could be totally off based on this case, but I was answering based on that one.
I
And
get
so
what you're saying,
so
but
why would I put myself in that situation?
in the reference to a woman is pretty cut and dry.
Hmm. But brother,
How would the
we just established
situation
the
be
fact
any different
we
if
just
someone
established.
said, "Is that a woman in this case?" Well, what were they born as? A man? No.
Mhm. But see, my thing is, and we've established one thing that we do agree on is that was a bait question, and that question is
Yeah.
not, and there's no cookie cutter answer to that particular question because
No.
you cannot.
I
Leonard,
believe there's a cookie cutter answer. It's a yes or no question. Just there's so I don't know what you believe or how you see things. Just from my perspective,
mhm,
Raheem, it's a what's a woman? A woman, biologically speaking, is someone that has an XY chromosome and is able to create life.
but
That's
brother,
it's that simple. If you turn around and be like, so he's or she's not a woman, well, what do her chromosomes say?
see,
XX?
and that's where your
No.
issue. That's where your issue is gonna come in because whatever answer that you give, and you know that question is not as simplistic as we're making it right now. That question now the question is simplistic. What is a woman? That is simplistic, but the way that they presented it and what they're looking for is not that simplistic. Leonard, what's on your heart?
The question of womanhood and things like that are subjective.
Mm-hmm.
The definition that you're looking for, he could have asked, what does she consider a female?
Mm-hmm.
But womanhood just is no better than using the word lady. Lady is
Mm-hmm.
subjective. You
Mm-hmm.
understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Lady is subjective. Woman is a descriptor type of situation.
Mm-hmm.
You're describing the particular female. The definition is a female.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now if you answer the question one way, she did not want to go down the road of arguing
Mm-hmm.
gender. She
Yeah.
is not a science. Maybe she's a scientist. Maybe she's not into chromosomes and all these types of things.
Mm-hmm.
That's not her area of expertise.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, when Ray was explaining his response, he specifically said, biologically speaking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, if you got a senator sitting there, he should be that smart, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, there is a motive and there is an agenda. It's a game.
Mm-hmm.
It's a game. And you don't want to lose the game.
Yeah.
So, certain types of questions you allow to go by to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
We know why he asked her that question because of the context of all the discussions about it in the media and issues that have come before the court and everything like that. She's letting you know she's going to look at the issue at hand.
Mm-hmm.
Because even though some of y'all think y'all know it all, is a hermaphrodite a woman or a man?
Mm. Wow. That's
Uh, that that's a hard outlier, but
Right.
it
But
depends on
there
the
is, but it's
chromosomes.
there.
Yeah, but that's like, so you're giving a outlier that's not as frequent as a transition, as what today sees a woman to a man be, or a man to a woman. They're not saying hermaphrodites are confirming this and then moving a certain way. That's not what's going on today. What's going on today is a gender is choosing to be something based off of their mental capacity.
I didn't really ask about gender.
Well, you're going into the science of it and using a hermaphrodite, which is an extreme that doesn't directly equate to the overall majority in these situations. In these
That would be
situations of
your
what,
opinion.
it's not my opinion. That's stats. You can look it up.
No, it's not because some of them win
I can
cases,
provide it
some
for
of
you.
them,
Okay.
hold on.
and
Both
some.
of y'all can talk
It's
one
actually
at a time.
about.
One at a
It's
time.
actually about case study. It's not about opinion and things like that when it comes to the law. So one, there's different decisions that are made based on the context in which you ask the question. Most people are not held under such scrutiny because they are not going to be sitting on the Supreme Court of the United States of America.
Mm-hmm. Good
So the
deal. Good.
person that sits in that seat has to take into consideration everything,
Mm-hmm. All the layers.
everything,
Yeah. Yeah.
every possibility and variance.
Mm-hmm. If you're going to judge on a situation, then you have to wait. If you say you're not going to look at everything, then you're being there's an injustice going on. If you
Well,
say you're
people
not going
have
to look at
come to
all
me
the
with
layers.
cases swearing that they cases where their civil rights have been violated and they
Mm-hmm.
haven't been.
Mm-hmm.
So one, it's the nature of the particular case that determines the answer or the outcome,
Mm-hmm.
the evidence presented. Just because
Mm-hmm.
you want it to be one thing doesn't mean it's that way.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
listen to the evidence of the matter to make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
So one, when you say what is a woman, go to the dictionary. You can have 15 women call in here right now and ask them what is a woman. They probably give you 15 different answers.
And I'm and because we got two or three
What
women
is the what like say for instance, like I said, well, what is a lady?
yeah. Hold on a minute. We got quite a few people on the phone line, and I know two of them are female. So I'm gonna ask them that very question and just see what they say to me. Cassandra, good morning. How you doing this morning?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. Cassandra, what is a woman?
I'm not even going to answer that
Mm-hmm.
question, Raheem, because
Go
like
ahead.
the conversation just from uh, just in this my perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to answer that. I am a woman. I know what a woman is. I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to even go with that.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to the cases and that baiting and trying to get people to say things, that's pathetic.
Mm-hmm.
That's pathetic. If you're trying to decide on something like someone sitting on the Supreme Court, and all you can sit there and do is try to bait them to say things, you understand that you know. And she's, thank God she's a smart woman,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Thank God she's a smart woman, and she knows that you're trying to bait her to say something that you can use against her. And that whole process, and I understand. Yes, you grill the person and you try, but what has been happening to her has been a whole lot of BS.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to get her to say things to put her in the light of the American people, like she's a certain way, or she's gonna make say watch it now because you know what she said, you know, is boom 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 boom. Stop it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then we going along with it. It just it's stupid. It shows your ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying in general, it shows ignorance when you are trying to bait somebody to say something that you can turn around and use against them and expect them to answer it. What the hell?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Why
Wow.
not?
I
Yeah,
don't
why
know.
not ask her? My
I don't
fault. Excuse me.
listen, sir. I don't know about that. I'm not a scientist. Thank
Mm-hmm.
you. Can we move on?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
She's
Exactly.
trying to become a judge, not a biologist. And you know,
Thank you.
you have to answer questions a certain way. Like I said, it's a game. And
Mm-hmm.
one, why would you get into an argument about biology during a Supreme Court nomination?
Mm-hmm.
That
Yeah.
that wouldn't make sense.
Exactly. Exactly. 508-924-3521. 508-924-3521. We're here every day, Monday through Friday from 7 o'clock until 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we'd love to have your input. Asking the question, what is a woman? Should she have answered that question? Did she handle the situation in the way that you like it or dislike it? What do you say about it? Give us a call.
Better
Let us hear
yet,
from
why didn't in another little sexist game? Why didn't
you.
he ask her what is a man?
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
was a
Wow.
woman that asked her.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
you have people with various definitions, and some people gonna like what you say and like what's not. She could have easily just said an adult female human being
Mm-hmm.
and left it at that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's information
Yep.
that he should have known, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
what I thought.
Yeah. Exactly. Let me go to Monique. Monique, good morning. How you doing this morning?
Good morning.
Monique, what is a woman?
Me?
Did you say me?
Yeah,
Okay.
me.
Okay. Okay. Now, how do you feel about the way that she handled that particular question?
I think she did good. I think she did good because I think it would have probably turned into a crazy show if she would have gave a definition that didn't fit what they was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I know that I've talked to some people that's in that lifestyle, and they done added, now they call biological women cis women. They done change out, try to change out who we are.
Mm-hmm.
So I think she did a good job with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I heard her say that when she take on a case, she looks at it individually.
Mm-hmm.
She'll compare it to others, but she look at it as an individual case. And I think that if she would have gave a specific definition of what a woman was, I think it could have really kind of like what everybody was saying, that that's
Mm-hmm.
what they would have held over her head.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she think this way or she think that way. So I think she did a good job.
Good deal. Good deal.
And Blackburn did ask her the question, but The other senator, this is why these things are set up this way. So, one, Marsha Blackburn asked the question, but then the other senators go in and harp on this particular issue to try to paint her as incompetent.
Mm-hmm.
That's the game.
Yeah. 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 Someone on Facebook said, never thought I would have to say what a woman is. World is getting wild. And then the follow-up comment, what is a dog then?
Like I said, you never be a judge then either.
Mm-hmm.
These are questions that judges are asked, and they're usually
Mm-hmm.
cases that are tried that are related to this issue.
Mm-hmm.
That's why everybody ain't gonna understand it, or well, it seems so simple until you're standing in front of a judge
Mm-hmm.
that's about to make a decision about your life. So there's a certain amount of scrutiny that a judge looks at a question with that the average person does not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. Phone lines are open 508-924-3521. 508-924-3521. Charles, got you back in, brother. Good morning. How you doing this morning?
Pretty good, man. I've been hearing half of the conversation of bits and pieces.
Yeah.
Question, what is a woman?
Mm-hmm.
And I guess y'all pertaining to this nominee. I'm amazed at you all, man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm amazed at the answers that are given, that from the men and the women on here that ever stood up for women's rights, to not know what a woman is. That's amazing that you all have to be a biologist in order to say what a woman is. And it is a setup, because every judge goes through this, and you all, not like I said yesterday, when Joe Biden said black woman, you got to understand the next time it comes around, what you're using now will be used against you. They're trying to show the character of what this judge is and who this woman is. That's what these questions come from. Yes, it's a setup. It's supposed to be done this way. It's always been done this way. Don't complain about it now if you didn't complain about it before. Now, as for the question, if a woman can't answer that question, I don't know if I want her presiding over anything that I have. I don't understand why well, I'm sorry. I understand why you do it, because she's black and y'all pro-black and anything black is good, when you don't understand that everything black is not good.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard it on here before. Everything black is good. It's not. That's the setup. The setup is to make you believe everything black is good, and then put Obama in there. Anyway,
my thing is here.
You all don't know the difference between a woman and a man, and you telling me it takes a biologist to do this.
Let
me
interject the question. Let me interject the question to what you're saying here, Charles, because I think anyway, let me interject this question right here. Do you honestly think that particular question, and to your defense, you did say it, so I do appreciate you acknowledging the fact that it was a setup. You did say that. So
it's all a setup.
Hold on, brother. Do you think that that question, and you're right, to a certain degree you are right, but do you think that particular question to this lady of this intellect, of this intellectual level that she's on, do you think that was an appropriate question, man? Do you think that that's a question that she should have actually even lowered herself to answer?
Yes, that she's not high above anybody. She's a judge. Apparently, she's not smart enough to answer the question. So I wouldn't say, sometimes, remember we said yesterday, just because you're smart, not yesterday, the other day. So y'all got to remember what you say sometimes. Just because you're smart don't mean you're smart. If you all call Dr. Carson an idiot, then what we gonna call this lady? You get what I'm saying? Because you disagree with what Dr. Carson say, he's an idiot.
I never heard anybody say he was an idiot. I never heard anybody say he was an idiot.
You didn't say it. Personally correct. You didn't say it, but it was said on this show, and you all didn't disagree with it. So, Dr. Carson, the #1 brain surgeon in the world, was called a dummy on here. crazy, idiot, all that. But this lady can't answer a question because she's black, and he's black too, but he just don't vote like y'all. Now she's not that way because she's a black woman. You
There's
can't
so
attack
many
a
different
black
things.
woman.
There's so many different things that's going on, and
But
I'm
you
and
didn't
hearing
say
and
that.
I'm hearing in this conversation, man, that there's so much even in what we're talking about right now and how we're presenting this thing today. There's so much division, and this is and nobody want to listen, and it's on both sides. It's not one person, but nobody want to even listen or hear what the other person is saying without trying to make their argument. That everybody just trying to make their argument and not listening to what the other person is saying. My thing is this right here. I don't think, and I don't remember anybody saying he was an idiot. I don't like him. I will tell you that I don't like him. Don't care for him. A lot of the stances that he take. Don't know the man personally, but I know some of the stances because he's a public figure. But my thing is this right here. People don't listen. People don't listen to each other. Only way they listen is just trying to get a response, a rebuttal. Cassandra, what's on your heart? And Don Tucson, coming to you next, brother.
I just want to say, first of all, I know what a woman is firsthand. Let me put that out there. I know exactly what a woman is. But if someone asked me that in a context that I was uncomfortable with, that is my choice whether I answer that question or not. And she did exactly, it was her right to do that. So then why would anyone be upset because I decide that I don't want to answer what I feel is a question that if you don't know, that's your issue. If you don't know what a woman is, that's your problem. If you don't know chromosomes, that's your problem. I don't have a problem with that. So I know exactly what a woman is. I am a woman and I've given birth to a woman. So for anyone to even try to say some little smart ass, and I said it. Yes, some little smart ass answer about I'm surprised y'all don't know what a woman is. What kind of shit is that?
Cassandra.
And I'm off today.
Tucson.
And we begin.
Tucson. What is a
Coming
woman?
back to Cassandra, because when you answer a question, what are you going to answer when the next question comes up?
Yeah.
It's coming. Just
Mm-hmm.
because you feel a certain way. See, because the whole character of the person is really being in question. So if you answer, then something else is coming up. So we have to use wisdom. We can't just blurt out as a judge. Now, if you were such a common person, you can say what you want to. You don't have nothing to lose. Nothing's at stake. So you got to think before you answer. Can I give you a scenario right quick if I can?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
I'm not too bright, but I'm sure not stupid. There's two ladies that had a baby. Each of them had a baby. One rolled over the other one and killed her baby. And she wakes and steals the other baby, the lady's baby, and she tells the king, this lady got my baby. To fast forward the story, the judge, the one that was actually going to make the decision, said something that made sense to really let them answer their own question. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Absolutely.
Okay, everybody's not. You're not stupid. See, I can say what's a man and have you disagree, because some people that just because they have a penis don't make them a man, and some women just because they have long hair. Let me say that, because now we think that we can make women, and that don't make them a woman. But you can answer how you want to, if you don't have nothing to lose. It's not the fact of what she's saying is on trial. It's her. She's on trial because she has to make some decisions based on a changing society. Last 50 years ago, let me say that, we can clearly say what a woman is. But here in this society, you have a person that we know at least was born a female somewhere along the line. She decided, you can't say he was born a male.
Did he freeze? Leonard,
Yes.
looks like he froze, man.
Yeah, of course. He'll be back here in a second. But it's just funny to me that it is always a court. I think to go back to something that was said, I never would have a problem supporting black female judges. I don't have that issue. So I would never get into a match about qualifications and things like that. But a very simple fact, she wouldn't be there if she wasn't qualified. Now the
Well,
issue is really whether or not someone likes her or not.
my whole thing with the questioning that they're doing is they're asking her all of the controversial questions.
Well, no, they're not
Critical.
asking her really controversial questions. They're
Well, like
asking her leading questions
mm,
to lead her down a certain path to try to derail her nomination.
then
To
I'd
paint
like
the
an
picture,
explanation
to paint the
because
picture that America is getting ready to put somebody on a bench who
so
is going to support the LGBT community.
from my understanding, the reason Blackburn asked that is because of the school that Jackson is a board member of, the Georgetown school, that has been known to do allow young children to choose their gender identity.
Young children don't go to Georgetown.
See, that's the research I was doing. That didn't sound right either.
That's a university. The people who choose what are read to students are local curriculums.
So I got a quick question. Do you guys believe or not believe that there's stances that you should stand on no matter what?
Not when it comes to this particular issue, no, because it has to be looked at on a case for case basis. You
I
can't
wasn't
have
saying this
one. You
particular
can't
issue.
have like one opinion of something and be sitting amongst all of these issues of a certain
Here.
level of importance.
There
You
we go.
can't be narrow minded and overlook the rights of the citizens that are governed under this Constitution.
I
It's not
wasn't saying
about an opinion or anything. It is about what is written.
I wasn't
And in
saying in this particular situation. It's a general question.
But
and in
Is
it's
my
there
not a
stances
general
that
opinion,
you
yes.
should or
question.
should not?
It's not a general
Is there
question.
stances that you should or should not stand on?
No,
I didn't say in this
no,
situation or not.
no, no, no.
They're
For the very
lying.
simple fact that once I find out where you are, I have an advantage to destroy you as well. So your stance that you may take may be a great stance that you think, but could be lead to your demise.
Okay. Good deal. We got it's a lot of things going on with this particular issue that we have today. The question and okay.
Hold on, right, that's my car.
Mute yourself, Dad.
If, mute your phone there. Mute your phone there so we don't have the issue there. Let me go. I think we have Curtis with us. Curtis, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm right here, bro.
Good morning, sir. What do you think about that particular question? Come on, Kurt.
Strategically,
Yes.
okay, so I'm gonna speak strategically. Strategically, what they did, if I was a bigwig in the Democratic Party, right?
what they did was told you what kind of cases they're going to be taking up before the Supreme Court, or what kind of cases they're going to be sending up to the Supreme Court. All right. So what they was trying to do was get her to give an answer that they could then soundbite when they take up these cases against the LGBTQ community. See, there was a bigger purpose in asking her what a woman is. But the overall thing, in all reality, in my opinion, what I saw was a bunch of white men trying to prove that they were smarter than that black woman. That's what I saw. You know, I heard y'all talking about Baltimore's least favorite, Ben Carson.
Mm-hmm.
And for those folk who are really big Ben Carson fans, you might want to do your homework on him. Because my mother knew him. All right? He was, I'm not going to go into it. But I don't understand how people can, of a certain party, can knock everybody for doing all sorts of things. But then when it comes knocking at their door, they condone it. Because according to our former president, out of his own mouth, Ben Carson is a child molester. Say he was molesting his daughters. That came out of our former president's mouth. That ain't nothing that the Democratic Party made up. That's what our president said during the campaign. Okay, so if we're going to take what this former president says as true, as the as the we can't refute nothing he say. Am I supposed to take it as true? Now I'm gonna tell you something about Ben Carson. I'll end with this. How many of y'all know that Ben Carson stabbed his mama? How many of y'all know that? How many of y'all know that Ben Carson was basically a chump? He's from here. So don't speak on somebody that you really don't know. All you know is what they've been throwing out to you over the media sources. He wasn't even in the room. He got touted as this great doctor, this great surgeon. He wasn't even in the room, Raheem.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't believe me, look it up. Look up Dick Gregory when Dick Gregory was speaking on Ben Carson. Yeah. He wasn't in the room, and everybody here in Baltimore, we know better. We know what kind of person he is. We know what kind of man he is. That's why he never won anything locally in politics, because everybody knew he was a piece of trash. But anyway, that's all I want to say. Man, it was just a strategic plan to get that lady to say something so that they could soundbite her, or so that they could bring it to the Supreme Court. And they figured that if we get her on the books for saying A, once it comes before the Supreme Court as a judge, she has to stand on what she said. Or she's likely to stand on what she said. That's what that was all about, bro. In my opinion.
Wow. Good deal. Badger, what's on your heart, brother?
It's a secret agenda. You know, she, so far, most of her answers show that she isn't going to be biased. Is a way a lot of people are taking her. There's a lot of people that are upset that she's not answering questions directly. But that's always going to happen. People are always going to be on one side or the other. So, as far as where I'm at, let's see what happens if she gets it. Because currently in this society, yes, the Supreme Judge does matter. We still have all these crazy psychos that are sitting in the House and the Senate making the policies.
Did y'all see
So
about Clarence Thomas today?
Hold on, Curtis. Go ahead, Badger.
so in a nutshell, they're still in power. They're still deciding what policies are going to get passed and which ones ain't. No, the whole system needs a remake. Because everything from the way they're questioning people to trying to cause more confusions and illusions and separation among people. You know, the reason I asked that question this morning is just one of the things that I keep saying. She's a judge. She's supposed to handle things case by case. That is the job that she is hired, that she has done. Now she's moved up to possibly become a Supreme Court judge, which their job is to be biased and look and see if the policy that is being made goes against the constitutional rights of the American people.
Okay. Now you said biased, you mean unbiased?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, good deal.
Yeah,
Rico.
unbiased.
Rico.
Yo,
Good morning. How you doing this morning?
man, I'm out here getting it, man. Welcome to a beautiful new day, everybody.
Hey, welcome to you as well, brother. Welcome to you as well. I know you've been listening to the conversation, brother. What's on your heart right now?
Man, I'm just wondering how did we get to this point in life?
Mm-hmm.
You know, putting all the judgeship to the side and, the tactics, we know that they're tactics. They have all this crazy stuff happen every time they get into these political games. I like what Linda said earlier, it's a game.
Mm-hmm.
It's the game. So now we have to sit back and ask ourselves questions, because sometimes they ask questions to me that just seem like they have no logic to it. So I'm wondering if anybody has the answer what a man or a woman is, did Biden actually nominate a white man or a black woman? Who is Miss or Mr. Brown Jackson?
Mm-hmm.
I thought when he said he was going to nominate somebody, he was going to nominate a black woman. Now all of a sudden, he nominated a black, I don't know what. What are some of these people that are considered males trying to turn into if a woman ain't a woman? Well, what are they trying to be?
Mm-hmm.
A donkey? You know what I mean? It's like, I'm wondering, because, y'all know I ain't too religious.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think, and I do believe, in my opinion, that the only way the devil can succeed is to have everybody confused about natural common sense things, moving out of order, working against themselves, and then actually giving energy to things that shouldn't have energy. I wonder if they have a problem in Russia with wondering what a woman or a man is. I wonder if they have that problem in China. Good old God-fearing you. Is it God or the devil? Maybe we might end up calling God the devil in the next 50 years, because we really don't understand logic. We don't understand that a woman can be born with organs that can, or possibly may be able to carry a child if they are functioning properly. Sometimes they might have organs that don't function properly, but they still have those organs that consider them a woman. That thing that a lot of men want to become. That person, that genetic species. But now here it is. The devil is winning again. He got people, just think about the confusion that can continue to come from the fact that after centuries and centuries of civilization and reproduction, now we got people wanting to, they want to play with just natural genetics.
Yeah.
Now, what is a hermaphrodite? A hermaphrodite is a hermaphrodite. A hermaphrodite is, which is certain levels of hermaphrodite. There may be 9 types of hermaphrodites. All hermaphrodites, you can't physically tell they're hermaphrodites. Scientifically, you have to go back and look at the chromosomes. So I mean, I just, man, to me, giving this stuff giving these topics energy only give them momentum, which will cause more confusion. And then we're wondering when or if the devil is actually winning, and we helping them win, contributing to the confusion. I think the answer was simple. It should have been simple, but now we are in a situation where you got to actually be politically correct on answering something as simple as whether somebody can carry a child or impregnate someone with a child.
And as I said earlier, man, the question was a bait question. It absolutely was a bait question, and they were trying to bait her in with that particular question. But even with that, taking that off the table, it still was I think it to a certain degree, I think it was somewhat of an attack. I think it was somewhat of an attack on her and who she was. I think it was somewhat of an attack. But let me go to we got several people on the phone line as well. Tucson, what's on your heart, brother?
Yeah, I don't know. I might get cut off and I mean, just because, I'm gonna say it again, I'm gonna start this thing all over again. We may disagree with what's a man. When you answer that question, then you're gonna have to wait on the next question, because I can sit and disagree with you. Let me say this. Okay, here's a person that's laying down on the couch all day long, drinking beer and smoking weed. And he has had 5 or 6 children. Now, is that a man?
That's a very unique.
I'm just asking.
Yeah, I understand. I understand what you're saying, but it's a male.
I'm just asking you a question.
Yeah. But
I'm just asking a question.
And what they were saying earlier, biologically, you will have to say the answer to that question will be yes. If we're gonna go biologically.
Hey, Raheem.
Yes.
Raheem, I got another question too, though. Well, not a question, but I'm gonna say religiously, because did God create man? He didn't say male. He said, "I created man." He didn't, think about it. It wasn't a matter of what he was sitting down drinking and smoking. It was a matter of him having, traits and genetic, a genetic physical thing about him that made him a man. And then God created woman. He determined that, right? And I ain't religious.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure we saw what that woman looked like. Now, every other interpretation, once again, is man's. Now look what man is doing to it. Once we done determine what a male should be based off of our standards, now we saying those standards ain't no good. You could be born with those same organs, and you could be doing the work. You could be bringing home the bacon and still feel like a woman.
And as I said, man, this the question itself. The question itself is so very complicated. People look at it, they say, "Well, it's just a simple question." No, it's not a simple question.
It is. Religiously, it is simple. Go back to what I just said about God created who? Man?
No. I meant no. From where I understand from what you're talking about, but I'm talking about the question as it was posed to her, as it was put on the table for her. It was a very complicated question. It wasn't as cut and dry. Yes, it wasn't as cut as dry as some would want you to believe.
So, Raheem, can
I see you, right?
Make judgments based on what's in the Bible?
You put me in a bad spot right there, brother. You put me in a real bad spot.
We're all in a bad spot, because here's what we're doing with society. I don't agree, but see, we disagree with God. Okay, so you're gonna put God in this scenario, and you're gonna get yourself in the bind. I'm gonna say this again. I don't know if you heard the last time I tried to say something, but if you have 2 people of the same gender in matrimony, are they married in this society?
Wow.
Or what is marriage?
Exactly. Yeah.
What is it?
What is it? What is it? And
So how many
there's
different
another
answers
question.
you gonna get? And if you answer the question, what is it gonna cost you? You can answer if you don't have nothing to lose. But if you do, and you're making decisions in this society based on the government that we have, you might not become who you desire to be. I'm just saying.
Good deal. Good deal. Ray, you wanted to say something, brother?
Yeah. We're all speaking in English, correct?
Yes.
We all use the English language. Let's use the English definitions. So if it's pre-established of what words mean. Now there's some outliers that change the suffix and change the prefix, and they say it can change the entire word. We know those words. But as far as it comes, I'm not even gonna go into religion. But just the basis of what we speak every day. Words have meanings. Now, no, like I said, we already know. I agree. Loaded questions, blah 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 blah. We get it.
Very loaded. Yes.
Agenda, loaded questions. They snakes. Fine and dandy. But as far as saying, when it comes to the simplicity of something, it goes down to it goes down to language. Like if you looked at Canada when they had this whole hoopla about using different pronouns and so on and so forth, that was an attack on language. Then it became an attack on freedom of speech, because if you attack language, you attack freedom of speech.
Okay.
So when we're saying we gotta if we're adhering to these laws that we've already pre-established, we speak it. That means we pre-established it, and that means we agree with it. We speak it every day. If the definition is as cut and dry as like what Leonard said, which are the definitions, then there's no like this is more complicated than it is. That's out the window. That's the whole problem with certain communities agreeing with certain things being said. They're trying to change language. You can't. You yourself, 20 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, 10,000 people can't change language. Not to the degree that they want to. So let's not beat around the bush. If the language is already pre-established and said, and it has its definitions, then that's what it is. Unless you're going to turn around and be like, yeah, nah, if I turn around to you and say tomato and you give me a freaking potato, that's a problem. So when I say male, female, man, woman, which goes back into male, female, which goes back into genetics, then that's what it is.
But see, again, in a perfect world, what you're saying is absolutely right. And I'm not going to sit here and say that what you're saying is wrong. But I will say is in the situation, in the circumstances that it was presented to her, we know that it's not that cut and dry. We know that it was not that cut and dry. And for us to sit here and be disillusioned into thinking that it was just that cut and dry, then we're missing the mark, brother. We're missing the mark.
In the sense of it being an agenda, yes, you're right. It's not that cut and dry, but also not answering the question tells you what side you're leaning on. Do you understand that, right?
I understand that. Yeah, I can agree with that. But I do also understand. I also understand that she has the right.
No, she definitely does.
She has
but
the
just
right.
Because
hold on, brother.
Just because you. Oh, go ahead.
No. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
Just because you have the right to do or to not do something doesn't mean so. At this stage, one, scrutiny is going to come. She's at the position, she knows that, and I'm pretty sure it's not going to affect her because she seems to be a very stable woman and has her ideals already set in stone, which is good. Which is more important than anything, to be honest with you. Now we're arguing about the question and not the fact that she stood on it, and she's most likely going to stand on it continuously is the key in this conversation. That's what we should be big up in her about.
My thing is, I look at motivation. I look at the motivation of an individual when they're doing certain things. What is your motivation? What is the motivation? Why did you do what you did? Why did you say what you said? What is your absolute motivation behind it? And honestly speaking, I can't see the motivation as being good. Leonard, what's on your heart?
Oh, just listening. Like I said, if it wasn't this complicated, why y'all still talking about it?
Mm-hmm.
Like I said,
Mm-hmm.
the proof of it and everything is there. We know why it was asked or whatever. To go back and forth about somebody else's opinion to me is kind of off-putting, really.
Mm-hmm.
Like I say, there's a level of scrutiny here that is not exercised in most other conversations. You could go with whatever you would like and try to prove the point that you would prove, and the average person would think that they were right.
Mm. Mm.
So until you under a certain level of scrutiny, then the question takes on an entirely different meaning. People change language every day, sir.
Mm-hmm.
It's called slang, informal ways of communicating. So when you talking about being a woman, that's slang.
Mm-hmm.
That's slang. That's a concept.
Wow.
And so if you've gotten used to using words incorrectly, then you will probably not understand certain things. Or they may have a completely different meaning to you
Mm-hmm.
than other people. And that is what the issue is about. He could have easily asked her, was she a woman?
Mm.
She could have gave you a lot more information if you'd have asked her about her own womanhood. Like my man Donald said before. Y'all said a man ain't a man if he don't do this. Well, I mean, I guess if that's what you believe, I'm not here
Mm-hmm.
to try to change your mind about it. That's what you want to believe. But it's
Mm-hmm.
too subjective. And when people say, it's a yes or no question. Okay, so if it's a yes or no question, and you ask me a question that don't work out for you in the end, guess what? I'm gonna make you suffer for that.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Wow. Listen, we have to, and this has been a great conversation, and I love everybody have their own stance, and everybody feel the way they want to feel. That's what make the morning glow so I think so incredible, because we don't have to agree, and a lot of the times we don't. But that's good. That's good. It's okay not to agree, but we do have the dialogue, and we respect everybody's right to have their opinion, whether we agree or not. And so I think that's the beautiful part of it. We actually going to go to our guest right now. We have a guest that we're going to actually bring in. I think she is there. Yes, she is right there. Good morning, young lady. How you doing this morning?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing well, doing well. Before we get started, I want to thank you for taking the opportunity and giving us the opportunity to talk to you this morning and coming and hanging out with us.
I
Um,
appreciate the opportunity.
Good deal. Now, this is, and make sure I say your name, Erica Dove. Is it Dove? Dove? Am I right?
It's Dove, just like the bird, the soap, the chocolate, whatever
There
makes you
you go.
happy.
Absolutely. And she's actually running for the Gwinnett County judge in District 51, is it?
It's Gwinnett County. It's the entire Gwinnett County. There's no district lines.
Okay, good deal. So what I want to do right now, I want to actually give you an opportunity to say hello to everybody, give a brief introduction of yourself, and the floor is yours. Talk to us.
Good morning, everybody. I am Erica Dove, and I'm running for Gwinnett State Court Judge. For people who don't know, State Court Judge is where misdemeanors are heard and civil cases that are not real estate or family law, like the big medical malpractice or personal injury cases. Those are all heard in state court. That's what I'm running for. A little bit about me is I grew up in Gwinnett County. I've been in Gwinnett County since 1981. I am a Howard University graduate, double bison for law school and undergrad. I've been practicing for 20 years. I worked at King and Spalding, which is a big corporate firm, for a few years. I was a misdemeanor prosecutor for 10 years. I've been in private practice since 2015. And I also sit as a municipal court judge in the cities of Lilburn and Chamblee.
Good
And
deal.
along with that comes a lot of accountability courts. I'm thoroughly involved in the community. I do a lot of mentor programs, and I'm a part of a lot of organizations that do a lot of community service. Um, and I think generally that's the resume that everybody kind of wants for what are your qualifications for this position.
Exactly, exactly. Now, what is it that led you to want to obtain this position?
Okay, so I have been practicing in state court almost my whole career. So that is where I live. Like,
Yes.
that's where my passion is. That's where I've been a prosecutor and a defense attorney most often. And so Gwinnett County actually has a good reputation for some really solid judges, and I want to maintain the excellence on the bench. We have a lot of different things happening in Gwinnett County, some good, some bad. And I would love to maintain the excellence that Gwinnett County has a reputation for. So that's pretty much it.
Okay. Now, you said you've been on both sides, the defense and the prosecutor.
Correct.
What side do you favor most?
Okay, so I would say people ask this all the time. So I would say, to me, prosecution is easier, but defense is more rewarding. Because as a prosecutor, everybody's giving you evidence. They're throwing things at you. Here's some videos, here's some paperwork, here's some whatever. As a defense attorney, you kind of got to dig around and find witnesses and find holes. Sometimes your witnesses aren't as favorable as you'd like them to be because you don't get to pick them.
Yeah,
you kind of got to find them as they are. And sometimes your clients don't articulate, and they're not as well perceived as you would like them to be sometimes. So it makes it a little bit harder to defend, because 9 times out of 10, as a prosecutor, they've got their whole story set up, and they've got the officers who generally get the credibility and all that goes with the prosecution. Whereas as a defense attorney, everybody doesn't automatically get that credibility that they should, but they don't. So it feels good when you can get somebody through sometimes you may find, it may even just be that you're selling a case, but you're selling a case so that you're trying not to set them up for failure.
Exactly. How do you make someone that's not already, you're on the defense? How do you make somebody that you have to bring in the courtroom? How do you make them court ready? Because some of the people that I know you have to deal with certainly are not court ready.
Some of them you can't make court ready. Some of them you can't, but what you can try to do is guide them and say, you remind them that any jury that looks at you is going to make a judgment at who you are. They're not supposed to, based on your appearance, but they will. I mean, because sometimes jury trials are not always, unfortunately, it's not always about all of the facts. Sometimes it's just about how they perceive you as they view you. So you try to tell people to, kind of clean up and don't wear any t-shirts that with big marijuana leaves on them or anything that's offensive. You try to tell them to clean up and look presentable as you would want a jury to see you, and trying to make sure people clean up their hair and don't wear purple colors and things that would distract and create an impression that you don't want to create. And you try to tell them to talk clearly. So that, and not in slang, so that, I mean, if the slang is how you tell the story, then maybe that's how you have to tell it. But then we got to clear it up and specify what you mean by it.
So do you find yourself sometime in a situation such as that? Do you find yourself in a situation where you have to go back and turn what they said into English?
I have, yes. Yes, because sometimes people will talk in slang. I heard you guys talking earlier about, slang and what's this and what's that. People will say that and anything. And sometimes, just to clarify, because you don't want the credibility to be shot because somebody has said something that could be pursued like that's my brother, or, and that could actually be your blood brother, or it may be the guy you grew up with in your household or something. So you have to clarify sometimes, just so you don't lose the credibility. Because as a prosecutor, you're going to say, if you say that's my brother and it's not really your blood brother.
Yes.
Then a prosecutor is going to go through the whole, well, who's your mother? Who's their mother? How does that make you brothers? Now your credibility is shot because you told the court a lie.
And one lie could destroy a whole case.
Yes. Because credibility is 50% of the whole presentation.
how closely, and this is a question that maybe I don't know if you can answer this question or not, and if you don't want to, it's fine. But how closely do the defense and the prosecutor work together on a case, or do they at all?
Work together is kind of a tricky way to say it. Okay, so criminally, in criminal cases, prosecutors and defense attorneys work on hundreds and hundreds of cases together and against each other. I will say the atmosphere is different with civil matters and criminal matters. For criminal matters, as a defense attorney, I'm going to have to go to that prosecutor over and over and over and over again about my clients. Because as a defense attorney, I've worked on the indigent defense cases where I take cases for a reduced rate to work on people who can't afford to pay retain an attorney. So I've had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cases. In Gwinnett, we have 6 state court judges. We got about 10,000 to 15,000 cases per year. Clearly, I'm going to talk to that same prosecutor again on another 100 cases.
Yeah.
So we actually build relationships where we're not combative. I mean, like it's usually not a personal thing. Everybody's business. But after work, you may see them out for drinks or something. You're not going to talk about your cases.
Yeah, exactly.
But you build the relationships with people because you see them over and over again. Civil matters aren't the same because they fight. People who fight over money are a little more hot. It's weird. People who fight over money are a little more hostile than people who are fighting over people's freedom. It's ridiculous, but it is. You see the people over and over and over again with criminal matters, and not necessarily the same with civil matters.
Absolutely. Now, on the community side, what is some of the things? And I know you do a lot of great things in the community. What is one of the most rewarding things that you personally have done in the community of Gwinnett County?
A lot of the organizations and stuff that I work with, I will say the one that I work with the longest is the STRAT mentor program. That's Seeking the Right Amendable Path. It's actually a mentor program from the juvenile court system, which I don't really work in the juvenile system, but one of the deputies started the organization. It's a nonprofit organization, and their youth who are troubled and in the system sometimes get recommended for the program. It's a 6-month program. And we actually meet with them every Saturday morning, and we teach them different things. The dangers of social media is usually my class that I instruct. They do different things about finding out how to do financing, just different things to mentor those kids. And 6 months is a long time. They got to, wear their khakis and their button downs. They got to come, ready to pay attention every Saturday morning for 6 months. I think it's an awesome program. I've been involved with it for 10 years at least. And that's one of the most rewarding. Of course, you got a few stray birds who just won't act right. But a lot of them come through and they go on to college, and they understand that they need to keep their records clean so they can succeed, whether it's to build their own business or to work for somebody else. And you kind of just mentor them as far as what is needed to succeed in society, because sometimes their homes aren't the way that they should be, or sometimes they're just troubled and they need somebody else to talk to besides their mother who gets on their nerves, or their father who is pushing them to do stuff that they're uncomfortable, whatever it is that they do. Sometimes they just need an outside influence to help.
Good deal. And that's amazing that you've done that and done it for so long. I applaud you for that. We have quite a few people that's here on screen with us, and as well as on the phone line. Is it okay for me to open up questions for them?
Absolutely.
Leonard, you have a question? Leonard, you there?
Yes. I think one of the questions I want to ask is related to the Judicial Qualifications Commission, and how do you feel about the work that it does, and what do you think can be done to improve that process that they use?
As far as you're talking about, as far as Supreme Court, or?
Well, actually, any judge filing complaints against various judges and things like that. How do you view that process?
Actually, I have been involved in that process because I am a judge, and I have been the subject of, investigations before. And it's actually not a bad system for me. It's been, like they'll ask you some questions, and then, when they ask you the questions, okay, so how do we remedy this? And they give you time to fix it. I haven't had a bad experience with it. Although my experience with it has been on some light-hearted matters. But I know some people, I think it's necessary because as attorneys, people entrust things to us that they normally wouldn't. We have all your money, we have all your personal information, and sometimes it can be abused. So I think that it is necessary. But anybody can draft a complaint. It could be people you didn't even represent, and with a mental health condition, they know your name, so they file a complaint. I mean, it's anything, but at least they do look into it. And I respect the situation. I think it's necessary just because people need a place to complain and let whatever happened be known. And at least it needs to be investigated, whether something happens from it or not.
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's good. Leonard, follow-up question?
No, I just wanted to ask her that because I filed judicial qualification complaints in the past and things of that nature. And, it's very specific. It used to be very specific on how you had to do it. And it almost seemed like it was a reason was looked for to discard the complaint.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been quite a while, especially since I believe there was one sitting judge that was removed by that process,
Wow.
who did everything he could to change that process.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where I was coming from, because I don't know if judges themselves look at it as a good thing or something to be feared.
Mm-hmm.
It is a fear. Nobody wants a complaint drafted, just like a bar complaint. You don't want anybody to draft a bar complaint against you because you have to go through the process and your livelihood is at risk. So it is feared. But it's unless it's something really egregious, like you've taken somebody's money or something like that. It's a process where they're I think generally they're trying not to remove you if it's not necessary, and they want you to fix it. Whatever the complaint is, they want you to address it and correct it. Just like if you were in school and you were doing something wrong and a teacher wants you to fix something that they have told you not to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think they give you an opportunity to address it generally, unless it's something egregious. And then, removal is kind of the last result.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Good deal. Good deal. Rico, you have a question?
Yeah. Even though the best questions would be for somebody that's in the criminal end, or as far as I go anyway.
Mm-hmm.
As a judge, when you see self-represented litigants, does that make you, because you're running for a judge, would that make you feel some type of way? And the reason why I ask this is I'm in the process now of getting an attorney for family court.
Okay.
And so once I talked to her and gave her all my evidence that I had, she said, well, Mr. Jackson, I could pretty much guarantee you 100% custody, especially if you move back to Florida. Now, if you don't move back to Florida, you might not be able to get it. But based on everything you've given me and everything I just pulled up on my computer, you should have no problem getting 100% custody. So now, I asked that question because I appeared in front of a judge with that same evidence, police department and children's services, and it ain't enough. But I have to pay to retain an attorney to present that exact same evidence, and she could give me 100% guarantee that a judge would grant me custody. And so I know what the gig is. I've had to represent myself plenty of times before, and criminally, I was incarcerated wrongfully. And my public defender was communicating with the prosecutors more than he was with me.
Okay.
And I already had a situation with that before. And so it got to a point where I realized, you know what, they really trying to railroad me. They want me to go do this time, and he's probably going to work for the state attorney's office, just like my last defense attorney did. Went right to work for the state attorney's office. So I guess my question is will a judge, or will you as a judge actually hold it against a self-represented litigant, even if they were professionally speaking and they were speaking slang, but they had all the facts in place?
Absolutely not. I wouldn't hold it against a litigant. The only trouble comes in with, as a litigant, generally speaking, pro se people don't know how to present evidence properly. And they don't know what the laws is. They just want to tell their story, where it's not usually as simple as, let me just tell my story. So the problem comes in, you can tell me this and you can tell me you have something, but if you don't put it in evidence properly, it doesn't really get considered the way that you want it to. Which a lot of people, some people, they do study and they'll figure out how to present evidence and that, but the majority of the time with pro se litigants, kind of lawyers went to school to figure out how to do some of this stuff. So that's where the trouble comes in. People don't properly present this is the evidence and this is what it means and how to get it in. And, because there are objections that people can have against your evidence and you wouldn't know how to respond properly. But being pro se itself is not a problem. It's just that as a judge, you're not supposed to guide a pro se litigant through the process. You're supposed to be able to present your evidence, know what the process is. And sometimes, most of the times, it's difficult for pro se people who just watch, Law and Order on TV and think that that's what it is, when it's not. It's not as fancy and as action filled as TV makes it seem.
The language, the courtroom language. How much of a barrier is that if a person wants to actually represent themselves in comparison to having an attorney? How important is the language?
I've never had a problem with the language part of it because, especially if it's a pro se person, I can follow up with a question if I don't understand something. If there's a term that I don't understand, I can clarify it. So the language is not a problem for me, but that's going to be on an individual basis for each individual judge.
That's good. That's good. Cassandra, you have a question?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay. Curtis?
Yes, I have a question right here. Yes, I do.
Okay.
Your Honor,
yes.
Thanks for coming in and sharing your time with us first and foremost. Right?
Happy to be here.
Can you, as best you can, and I don't know if I'm asking, I think I am. Can you explain the rules of censorship in terms of judges, doctors, congressmen, and things of that nature? Because I hear it sometimes when things are brought before the bodies about a particular person and their habits. And I think I know what it is, but I'd like to be a little more clear as to what censure is. That's my first question, and I have a follow-up question.
Okay. Censorship, what in terms of what? Just political conversation or what? What are you asking in reference to?
Like, how, like, for example, one of my mentors and very near and dear friends was Charles Ringle. And as a result of some tax stuff or something like that, he was censored. I've worked under a clinical director one time who, of course, was a doctor. And because of certain things that she had did at a previous, with a previous employer, she was censored, right?
Okay.
And I never really understood, like exactly what is that? You know what I mean? Can judges be censored?
So are you asking, Curtis? Curtis, is your question more geared toward what is censorship, and you're trying to get a clear understanding as to what it is? Is that a big part of your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
That is my question.
Okay. So typically that doesn't happen. That's not a thing for your local judges. That's more on a big political arena, Congress and Superior Court judges and those kind of things. For state court judges and Superior Court judges, that's not really a thing. You can get, if you get as a judge, if I if I get charged with something, I definitely have to go to my state bar and they have to decide what the consequence is, or can I continue to practice, or can I continue to be a judge, or that kind of thing. But for Congress, sometimes it means something, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, you can see on like how different Congress members get treated on, depends on like, it depends on what it is and who is in charge of the censoring. I mean, unfortunately, that's an extremely political thing that sometimes has value and sometimes does not. I mean, I'm sorry, my answer is so vague. But as anything in Congress, as we can see, sometimes it means something, sometimes it doesn't. Depends on who the ruling party is and what they want to do about it.
That's good. That's good. Ms. Doe, let me ask you this question. You've been in the law for a minute now. You've been doing this for a minute. I think you're very good at what you do. And again, I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to us. How has it changed over the last 10 years? How have this whole system changed?
The system itself has not changed. The law is the law. The judges change. But the system has not. I mean, the things happen within the system that didn't necessarily happen before. Like, I believe like mental health has become a bigger issue in the system. So now we're trying to figure out ways to navigate that and how to deal with that. As a prosecutor, I was part of creating the mental health diversion program that's in the state court system now, whereas people that have a severe and persistent mental illness diagnosis can be geared more toward treatment instead of just being on regular probation, where as soon as they mess up, they go to jail. That is a bigger issue in the system. I don't know that it's never been there. I just know that it's happening more and more often. And because there are not enough resources, they just end up in jail. And, you know, the jail isn't the one, it's the resource that people use to try to deal with mental health. But I would say like 50% or more of the jail have people with mental health issues. So that's a bigger issue, I think, in the system right now. That is hard. It's a difficult situation to deal with, but that is more in the system. But I think that the accountability courts is kind of the change that is happening. Like the Veterans Court, or DUI court, or the mental health courts, and those kind of things. Those are kind of things that society is happening in society, and we need to try to treat whatever the illness is more. I mean, it's still punishment. You still got to be held accountable for it, but it does deal with treating the issue as far as just punishing it.
Wow, that's good. The juvenile system, I know you say you don't work a lot with the juvenile system, but what is a process? What is a process when a juvenile commit a crime, and they're say they're going to be tried as an adult? What is weighed in that?
That is mostly weighed in what kind of crime it is. If it's the 7 deadly, those are mostly going to be tried as adults. If somebody died, or, you know, a very violent crime where some real things happened, those are largely going to be tried. Those people are largely going to be tried as adults. But it is a maturity thing of, you know, what did they understand and all that kind of things. It's just but juveniles are 16 and under. 17 in Georgia is an adult.
Wow.
So it's an adult as far as crime goes, but not as far as school goes. It's interesting that way.
Yeah. Exactly. What are some of the things that you find a lot of the communities don't understand about the legal system?
What is it that they don't understand? Well, I think it's somewhat the process. I think it is. I think that people think they get charged and you can just say, well, you need to get that case dismissed, where it's just not that simple. Because the prosecutor is going to go through their process, and they're not going to deal with you until they're ready to, and they don't have to. They want to give your case maybe to an investigator so they can gather up some stuff, and they're going to do it on their own schedule. They don't care nothing about your schedule. They're going to do it in their system. They got 10,000 other cases right before yours. So it's going to take a while to get to it. And people want to move on with their lives. I mean, I've got cases. I've just recently disposed cases in misdemeanor court from 2019. The pandemic set us back like 2.5 years. And before that, it's still, there were 10,000 cases before then. So sometimes it takes a long time, and people's lives get put on hold, and, you lose job opportunities and military opportunities and so on and so forth. And the justice process just doesn't move as quickly as we would like in most cases. And I think that people don't understand. And then there's arraignment, and then there may be motion scheduled just to, make sure that everything that needs to be excluded is excluded and that kind of thing. Or there's an argument about this needs to be suppressed because it wasn't properly obtained. And, like the steps are very incremental, and people don't understand. They just want to go to trial and be done. Or just say that's not what happened and their case be dismissed. And it doesn't really ever happen that way. Well, I won't say ever. Mostly doesn't hardly work that way.
Okay. We have a question from Facebook. Are you open to answer a Facebook question?
Sure.
Leonard, read the question for us.
Why is it so hard to even get a pocket knife in a courthouse, but school is free will and kills?
Okay, so that's a loaded question, but the courthouse has security. They got rules. You can't even get any sharp object, whether it's a knife or it could be anything, random things that you would never think of, because the deputies are there to protect the public. And so items that are deemed to be eligible to be used as weapons are not allowed in. They got to protect the judges. They're supposed to protect the public. As far as schools, most schools don't have deputies, checking people that go through the doors. And that's an arguable and debatable issue about whether you want that in your schools, because some people think that there should be security and metal detectors going through the doors. Other people don't want their children going through that process just to go to the classroom. So that, I think it's just very political, or sometimes on how the school can handle it versus the courthouse.
Absolutely. That's good. Badger, you had a question?
Yeah, I was listening to everything, and I kind of want to go back on what I'm pretty sure I heard earlier. Did you make the statement of when it comes to passing a judgment onto a human being can greatly depend on how they're dressed and not just race?
I think jurors, you never know where a juror is coming from. Unfortunately, not usually for us judges can withhold all those things and make judgments based on the facts. But when you have a jury trial, you're asking jurors, your peers, to sit and judge your case. What you don't know is what their perspective is coming into that. I mean, we have voir dire where we ask questions about can they be biased or unbiased, or what their situation is and how they perceive certain circumstances, but you never really know where they're coming from and what they're going to judge you on.
Yeah.
And only thing you can go on is the answer they give you when you're going through voir dire.
So can I ask a follow-up question?
Hold on, Badger. Let her finish. Let her finish answering.
That may or may not be the honest answer. It's just the answer they gave you in the moment that you asked a specific question, or it may just be relevant to how you phrase the question, so they didn't answer it a certain way or something like that. So you don't know what judgments they make coming in just based on how everybody looks, or how somebody makes them feel just by looking at them.
And Badger, what you got to understand is she's not saying that the judge is doing this. This is a peer. Yeah, these
That-
are appeal. This is a jury. A
That's
juror.
why I had a follow up
Yeah,
question,
yeah. Go
Okay.
ahead.
because to me, this is about a lot of issues I've ran into with other people that don't know as much about the legal scene, because I study it a lot.
Okay.
And a lot of the case studies I've come across, especially when it comes to racial issues, um, I see a lot of cases where black people get a heavier sentence than white people do. And that bothers me a lot. I don't think it's fair whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
In a lot of those cases, it is jury. Does the jury also have an influence on how the sentencing is placed, or is that just the judge's responsibility to sentence?
Sentencing is generally just the judge's responsibility. Jurors are not allowed to consider the penalty. They are given instruction on not to consider what the penalty is. They just are supposed to be the finder of fact. Are you guilty? Is it not guilty? That's it. That's all they decide. The judge determines sentences.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's good. That's good. There's another actually of Twitch TV. There's a question, Leonard.
Should there be any changes to the voir dire system? I was removed by a prosecutor just because I am a teacher.
Okay, so the voir dire system itself, I mean, I think any system is open for improvement, but you should not have been removed simply because you were a teacher. But I will say, in the process, for misdemeanor court, you get 3 people that you get to strike. Every team, both sides get 3 people that they get to strike for whatever reason. It may be that you didn't give them a good vibe, or you made somebody feel like you hated them while they were asking questions, or it's you get 3 random strikes. Now other than that, it has to be for cause. It has to be because you have demonstrated some kind of bias, or sometimes it's because English is not your first language and you're not really understanding what's going on, or it has to be for a legitimate cause. But you do get a certain amount of strikes where somebody just doesn't give you a good vibe and you don't really want them on your panel. But that goes for both sides. Get that option for 3 people.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all they get. So they have to use those 3 wisely. If they brought in 25 people to interview for voir dire, you only get 3 strikes. Now it could be you strike the person that stared you down and had a grimace at you.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to use those 3 strikes wisely because you only get 3. So it shouldn't have been that you were a teacher, but maybe it was a case that they felt like teachers would rule a certain way based on how schools are set up. I don't really know. But just because you're a teacher usually isn't a reason to strike somebody.
Mm-hmm. Cassandra, do you have a question now? Cassandra, are you there? Leonard, got a follow-up question, brother?
Yes. What is one particular change or way of changing the process do you feel is priority to you? Do you have something that you would like changed?
The process of what?
As far as, like, say for instance, the delivery of justice, I would say, on how you've watched things done, and we know that alternative court has not always been offered to everyone.
Okay, so accountability courts, I'm really big on the accountability courts because it is an attempt to address the underlying issue and treat it instead of just cycling people through the system. Sometimes, accountability courts are set up for non-violent offenders because people who have aggravated assault or murder in their history are not actually your good candidates, because in accountability courts, what happens is instead of focusing on let's just lock you up for a year, it is, okay, so we're going to lock you up for a little bit of time, but we're going to make you get tested every day. We're going to make you come back for counseling. We're going to put you in treatment. You know, we're going to make you do this to try to address the underlying issues so you don't cycle back. So I think the accountability courts are good, and there's also always ways to improve it. I think the mental health is one of those things that needs improvement. It's hard to address though, because resources are so minimal when it comes to mental health. It's a big problem in the community with not enough resources to address it.
Wow, that's good. That's good. I think one of the things that a lot of people don't understand, and I don't understand it myself clearly as well, but when there's someone before you and you're going to go through the sentencing process, is there a guideline, this crime, this amount of time, or how does that work? Can a judge just say, well, look, are we going to put that aside? I'm going to give you this amount of time right here because you deserve more time. Is there a balance that has to be the judge has to take into account when sentencing someone?
Okay. Yes. Misdemeanors are a year is the maximum term for any one charge. Superior Court is different. They have a range because those crimes are a little more egregious than misdemeanors, obviously. But the things that are taken into consideration are the facts of the case, the remorse, the criminal history on how many times this or any kind of similar event has occurred. And pretty much that's it. I mean, you know, you just take into consideration what actually happened and what the criminal history is looking like, and what you think is the best solution for this particular crime. And you also take into consideration the victims and depending on what kind of case it is and what it is how it affected their lives and what it means to them and what they want. They don't get to determine the sentence, but they do have a right to tell the judge how they felt about it and what impact it made on their life. So those are kind of the things that you take into consideration. I don't think you should take a first-time shoplifter and then sentence one to 60 days jail and the other one 10 days jail. That should not happen where just because one's black, one's white, or anything like that. It should not be that varied in how you deal with a shoplifter.
Absolutely. There's another Facebook question. Are you open?
Yeah.
Okay. Leonard?
Do you agree or disagree with building prisons for mentally ill offenders?
So I don't have a yes or no answer to that. Just honestly, I do feel like, prisons, I don't think that prisons are necessarily the answer, but I know that I think there should be a place, the old school mental health facilities, but I know there are a lot of problems inherent in that system. And people with mental health issues are subject to getting taken advantage of. So I don't have a clear answer on that. I do think that there need to be resources. I'm not really sure about a mental health prison because a lot of times it's not an intent, it's a mental health issue.
Yes.
So the prison not necessarily what I think is the appropriate thing. But sometimes there are some cases where somebody's created an egregious act, they've killed people or whatever, and they're in crisis. But you can't exactly let that person out into society when you're at risk for having that reoccur because they're in crisis.
Wow.
So I don't know about prison, but I do think we need more resources.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I want to get everybody up to speed. We got quite a few people that's tuning in, and Ms. Dove, you're a hit on social media. People coming at me right and left with these questions on social media. So that's a great thing. Again, I want to thank you for taking this opportunity and talking to us today. I want to do this before we go too far into this thing, and I want you to take an opportunity and tell us why you should be the one that we vote for, and if you don't mind, just ask them for their vote.
Okay. I think that I am the one. I've got most varied experience. I have judicial experience with none of the other candidates have. I am very involved in the community. I have a good interest in the community because I grew up in it. I've been here since 1981. I have the judicial temperament for it. I've always been, even as a prosecutor, I have built good relationships with attorneys and judges alike, and citizens, because I've had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of clients that I've dealt with on a regular basis. I think that I am the best candidate, especially considering the opposition that I have. I would ask that people, if you're interested in more information, you can go to my website. It's ericadove.com. And that is Dove, like the bird, the soap, the chocolate. It's ERICADOVE.com. If you're interested in getting a sign, I would, just email me or contact me. I'm on Facebook. And I would ask that you vote for me on May 24th. And one thing I do want to point out, the election is on May 24th. Thank you. And early voting starts May 2nd. Get going on it. It's coming up in like 6 weeks. There are 3 candidates in this position. And so if there's a runoff, the runoff is in June. It's June 21st, which is, nobody knows that. Like, that's a problem. And, you worry about people not coming out to vote. That's for the school board positions as well. May 24th is the election. But if there's a runoff for any of these positions, any position that has at least 3 candidates and is subject to a runoff, that runoff would be June 21st, when everybody's on summer vacation and, not thinking about politics and that kind of thing. So it is something I want people to keep in mind. Pitt School Board, because those are nonpartisan now. So those are on the May 24th ballot, which I don't know that a lot of people know or have paid attention. If you haven't paid attention, you might miss it.
Exactly.
Because some people just automatically think November, which is not the case on that.
Okay. But we don't want to have to deal with the runoff. That's not what we want to deal with.
That's right.
So I just encourage everybody to go out and vote. And again, I always say this: I can't tell you who to vote for because of where I am and what I'm doing here. I can't tell you who to vote for, but I can tell you who I'm going to vote for. And if you look at the screen, you'll see exactly who I'm going to vote for. But I can't, that's me. Let me go back to Curtis. You have another question? Let me see, Curtis. Maybe. Oh, again, I'm on mute. I muted them. Go ahead, some background noise. Curtis, you there?
That background noise wasn't coming from me, Raheem. I've been muted the whole while y'all been talking.
Okay, but do you have a question?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Your Honor, what is the likelihood of you, for example, making a statement publicly and then your statement being used again in argument in another case? What is the likelihood of that statement coming from you as a judge being used in argument in another case?
I mean, anything that I say could be presented later. That's part of the reason why you don't get judges to take a position on most things, because our platform is not a political stance, or we don't present we value this and we want to improve this system. You kind of you make your argument about who you are without generally making any statements about politically charged events or anything that may come before you as a judge. But it's judges are nonpartisan. So that's the reason that they're nonpartisan, so that you don't take positions on things that might come before you.
Follow up. Go ahead, Curtis.
So basically what you're saying is that there could be a situation where a statement that you've made politically or about a case could be used as almost unwritten precedent, right? So you have to be very, very tempered and very, very, you have to acknowledge the fact as a judge that what you say now can be used or misinterpreted later and used in argument.
It absolutely could. It could. It could.
Is it safe to kind of look at it like that?
You could. Now, it doesn't become precedent. If it's not law, it's not precedent, but it can be used. Almost anything can be used in an argument.
Oh, wow. Okay. Thank you so much. And I wish you the best. If I was in Georgia, I would really be looking at your work. So for all my family that's down there in Gwinnett County, I implore y'all to look, look up the Honorable Dove and, take a look at it and see if that's what you want. If I was down there, I would probably be working for you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, because it is hard to do what you do. And not only as a judge, but as a woman, it is hard to do what you do, and I applaud you.
Thank you.
Good deal. Good deal. Cassandra, you had a question?
Yes. In Judge Dove, Ms. Dove, in Cobb County, where I live, recently they started a program for the mentally ill when it comes to jail and confinement. Do you think that possibly a program in Gwinnett, is pretty big? Do you think that a program like that might be feasible for Gwinnett County, where they actually have teams that deal with mentally ill inmates? And the reason I'm saying that, and the reason I'm passionate about it, is because my nephew was killed in a jail cell last year by police, and he was schizophrenic. And so I'm very concerned about how we deal with the mentally ill in the judicial system.
Okay, so state court in Gwinnett County we have a mental health diversion program. I was actually as a prosecutor, I helped to create the program. So it is for people with severe mental illness, severe and persistent mental illness. So we do have a program. It's not a certified accountability court, because you got to have a judge on board that is willing to, meet with these people every couple of weeks. And mental health cases are really kind of difficult to maintain because they do require a lot of attention. But we do have a mental health diversion where they're not really treated the same as regular cases. You got to have the diagnosis, and there's a treatment plan established where people are supposed to go to the doctor so often. They're supposed to stay on their medication. They've got to check in with probation, and they've got to come to court more often than your regular Joe Schmo may. So there is a program in place in Gwinnett that works with that kind of stuff. There's always room for improvement. Because the resources are so slim that you kind of work with the same treatment facilities over and over again. Sometimes you want more options as far as where the treatments is provided, but Gwinnett does have a program to deal with mental health people.
That's good. That's good. Ray, you have a question? I think Ray is frozen over there. I think he is frozen. Rico, you have a question, brother?
Really not a question, it's a request. And I get what Curtis was asking, and I got her answer. What she was saying is that her ruling isn't law, but it can't be used as reference.
Yes.
People will use it as a reference to actually prove their case, even if they're manipulating it. They can still use it as reference.
Correct.
But,
that's accurate.
We've been saying words, and we talked about the meaning of words, and then even she came in and mentioned it. First off, let me clarify something. You aren't a judge yet, right?
I am a judge for the city of Lilburn and the cities of Shamrock.
Okay, so you are a judge. With that being said, coming from a judge's perspective, because I think it was day before yesterday, the question was asked, what is this system that we speak of? What is the system? And so in one of your comments, you said system like 9 times. And then you said it again in a couple more responses. So as a judge, hearing that come from you, could you actually explain to people what the system is? And see, I'm letting you know that I'm from Anderson, Alabama. Okay. So, what you're doing really doesn't pertain to me unless I just happen to ride through your city and have something happen. But I feel like from where I am, I can ask different questions for people that are in your constituency to be able to get an idea of who you are and how you think. So I'm asking again, in your opinion, what is the system? The system that you speak of, or any system?
The system that I'm referring to is the justice system. It's the process for which if someone encounters police and gets charged, the process that is proceeded through, either that ends in dismissal or ends in a sentence, and whatever comes with that. So my reference to system is justice system. Does that clarify your question?
Yeah, to a certain extent. I knew that's what you meant, but in many situations, we'll talk about the system being corrupt. I shared a video, what was it, about 2 months ago, Raheem, where the clerk of the court, the stenographer, the judge, the prosecutor, and the defense attorney all railroaded this one man, and they had it on camera, and they proved in live time, right, well, as the recording was going on, they were lying in live time, all in unison, to railroad this man. And they utilized the system to do that. So, you know, the reason why I asked that question, because it was asked, what is the system? You know, how does that work when you even use that word, the system?
And I will say, and that you're going to have some bad apples in every group, every profession, any group of people, you're going to have bad apples. But generally speaking, I think that people's perception of all of the parties, the judge, the prosecutor, the defense attorney, them being friendly to each other, sometimes people perceive that as working against people. And it's not always, that's not what it is most of the time. Most of the time, it's these people went to law school together, so they know each other. Or, you know, you travel in the same circle and you see somebody in the hallway enough times, you become friendly with them. That doesn't mean you don't represent your client to the best of your ability, or the prosecutor is not going to try to nail you based on, you know, what you did. However, there is a professionalism and a camaraderie in that we're all lawyers. We're all here to do our jobs. We got to do the jobs to the best of our abilities, but we don't have to hate each other personally to do our jobs.
Absolutely. And what I'm hearing you say is integrity. What I'm hearing you speak about right now is integrity.
Absolutely.
That's exactly what I'm.
Right.
Yes.
That leads me to a great question, a good segue into my question that I wanted to ask. Do you have any conflicts of interest when it comes to cases involving police misconduct?
I do not.
Okay.
Good. Let me ask you this question. And a lot of people ask about the bonding process. The bonding process. How exactly does that work? Because some people that people think should not get a bond, and other people don't, and it flip flops. So from where you're sitting and from your expertise and your background and what you do, what is that bonding process like?
Okay, so bond is for people who have a connection to the community and their risk of flight and their risk of recommitting any offenses. So sometimes well, most of the time it depends on what the crime is and what your risk is to the community. It also is your connection to the community, because if you live in California and you committed an aggravated assault here, what are the chances of your flight? If you don't have a connection to the community, then you're gonna be a bigger risk of flight. So, and whatever your risk is to the society, if they let you out and you go kill somebody and it looks like, well, I just let a killer out for no reason, then those are things that are considered. DUI is a good one. You know, if you've gotten 3 or 4 prior DUIs, does a judge let you out knowing that you have a tendency to get DUIs and you may hurt and kill somebody? So those are all, your propensity to reoffend and your connection to the community are all considered in the bonding process.
Good deal. There's another question from Twitch TV. Leonard?
Is the no cash bail movement helping or hurting communities? I hear both sides on that.
I don't know the studies. I haven't seen any studies related to that. I think there's good and bad in everything. I think on minor offenses where it's like loitering and prowling, or something simple that's not really a big risk to the community. Just a bond on your own recognizance is appropriate. But I do think that there are some discrepancies in how people get bond, and low income people kind of get the bad stick of that, because if you don't have a few $100s to post to a bond company, you may sit in jail for a really long time for the same offense that somebody with disposable income, and they can just plop down a few $100, they may get out the next day just because you're low income. So it's a hard thing to deal with. But there's two sides to it. I don't really have a straightforward answer for that. And I don't know what the studies are, and like if they release people on ORs, are they reoffending? I don't know the studies on that.
Absolutely. That's good. That's good. And I love your transparency. Thank you for that. Charles, you have a question?
I've been listening. What she just said about what the question Leonard just asked, it makes sense. If you can't, I think if you can't, sometimes people can't afford to do certain crimes and things like that. But I got a question. Like, I don't know if anybody asked this because I've been off and on because of my patience. How much do judges take in, like prior not conviction, but like being in trouble, like what is it? What am I thinking? Like
history.
Yeah, like history, but it's a certain word I was trying to think, but it's like a person's history, or
Priors.
not even their history, but let's say they have witnesses that say character witnesses. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Like a character witness to this person saying this person's a good character, but they did this or they did that, but everybody stood up for him as a good character. How does judges look at that into sentencing?
How does that weigh in?
Right, correct. Good way to put it, Ryan.
It's a consideration but the thing is, just like when you apply for a job, you're always going to find people that are favorable for you. So it is considered, but you also have to realize that you're not going to present somebody that's going to say something bad about you, right?
Well, the prosecution might, right?
Well, usually, no, they can present victims, but they don't usually present character witnesses about you, because the sentencing is about you mitigating the damage against you. It's not about the prosecutor presenting witnesses to nail you further.
Okay.
So they give victims an opportunity, but they don't generally just present character witnesses against you.
Absolutely. That's good. That's good. I'm at the point of the broadcast right now. We're at 9:30. So what I want to do, Ms. Dove, I want to yield the floor to you. I'm going to give you 3 minutes, 3 to 4 minutes, to whatever you want to talk about, whatever's on your heart, maybe some things that you would like to have covered today that we did not touch on as of yet. So the floor is yours.
I think I probably covered most of the stuff I want to talk about. I think I good character. I don't have any problems, and I have good relationships in the community, the legal community, citizens. I grew up. I went to Beaver Ridge Elementary. I went to Sweetwater Middle School. I attended Meadow Creek High School, and I still have relationships with several people from my those years. My mother still lives in the community. I have a plethora of experience that qualifies me. I have a pleasant disposition. Even as a prosecutor, people have always respected, and I've never had any problems in the community based on that, even as a prosecutor. I do think I have a well-rounded experience and extensive. I've been practicing for 20 years. And I am very active in the community. I'm a part of organizations like in the NCNW, Junior League, the Strat Mentor Program. different programs. GAPABA, which is the Asian Pacific bar community. Phi Alpha Delta, which is a law fraternity. And most of those programs all do community service things. So I am well connected in the community, and I do serve, because that is what this position is. It's about serving the community. I am a public servant. Even as a defense attorney, I've been on the indigent defense list for years. The whole time that I've been in defense, I have been on the indigent defense list and served hundreds and hundreds of people who needed representation and couldn't afford it. And I'm a judge, so I have experience. I have the temperament for it. I think I'm the best candidate, and I hope that you think I am too. Ask that you go to my website, you reach out if you want to volunteer, be a part of it. If you want to sign, donate, whatever it is. If you'd like to get involved, go to my website, sign up, or just send me an email, ericadovellc@gmail.com. And all of that goes directly to me, so I will see it. You can get involved and or ask questions. If you have questions, be happy to answer any questions you might have. And I would love to earn your support, and hope that you vote for me. May 2nd is early voting, so 6 weeks until early voting. The actual election is May 24th. Hopefully you pay attention to all of the candidates on your ballot, wherever you are, wherever district you are. I'm on both ballots, the Republican and the Democratic ballot, because it is a nonpartisan. But I want you to pay attention to all the people on the ballots, because they say the lower on the ballot it is, the closer it is to home. So pay attention to what's in your community, what's going on, and what your election dates are, and that kind of thing. Make sure you register to vote. It's so important. And pay attention to your local stuff. That's the stuff that reaches people in your household. I mean, yeah, you vote for president and you vote for the governor and all those kind of things, but those school board and your judges and city council, which they've already done the city council stuff, but those are the things that affect your daily, everyday life, and you should pay attention and do some research and figure out who the people are.
Okay. Now, a little bit about me. I'm going to tell you something about me for a second. One of my food weaknesses is Breyer's butter pecan ice cream. What is your food weakness?
My food weakness is seafood. I love anything seafood. I was born in DC, and there is fresh seafood everywhere, and it's not as much of that in Gwinnett County. So I pay a lot of money to get fresh crab cakes from Baltimore.
There you go. But see, I said my weakness was a dessert, something that's really not good for me, and you went seafood. That's not fair. You supposed to have a dessert or something, but
I don't really have. I mean, I like cheesecake or that kind of thing, but seafood is my weakness. Like that's anything seafood, I'm good.
Good
Can
deal.
I ask a question?
Absolutely, go ahead.
I was sitting here processing, listening to everything, and I approach things from like a philosophical ideology most of the time. And with the way our society is, do you feel that candidates or people that are in these types of positions should lean more away from cases where a jury is asked for due to the simple reason of so much prejudgment based on how people look or are dressed or how they speak or things of that nature? Like how much I don't know if you're even able to answer that, to be honest.
And that's what I was about to say, Badger. I don't know if that would be a fair question, because she can't tell anybody which way to lean. I'm gonna open the floor for her. If she want to say something to us, you certainly can, Ms. Dell. But I don't think that's a fair question, because she can't really tell a person which way to lean. But what's on your heart?
Only thing I was gonna say is you actually you encourage people not to make judgments based on that, and you hope that people don't make judgments on that. But as a trial attorney, you know that it happens. Like sometimes you can talk to jury members after a trial, And some of the most arbitrary things are the things that matter to them, which to you as an attorney, you're like, but the facts were this, that, and the other.
Yes.
And to me, it's just, you don't know what people are bringing to the judgment. I mean, you ask people to stay impartial, but and they say they will, but does that mean that they actually will? You can't, you don't know. You don't encourage people to make those kind of judgments. And you don't ask people to do that. You ask people not to do that.
Yeah.
But
So
that's kind of what happens sometimes anyway.
So in a nutshell, the person that's on the jury, some of their decisions at times comes from how they're raised.
Absolutely.
More so than the evidence.
You don't know where their perspective is coming from. You just you can't always tell.
That's good. That's good. Toussaint, you have a question, sir?
No, I'm just listening. I don't have a dog in the hunt, but I don't know. Sometimes we look at judges and it's more not what they think. I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. Is when you make a judgment, is it more so of what has already been said, or how you look at it? Because it's your final decision, right? I don't know if that question even makes sense.
Well, I think
I don't really.
I think I think what it is you're asking is how personal is your judgment when you're making when you're judging someone, how personal is it?
Yeah. Right.
Okay. So as an individual, if it's a bench trial and it's in front of a judge and the judge is the decider of facts, I don't personalize what you look like, what you dress like, where you came from. So if it's a bench trial and that's just the judge is the decider, I'm looking at the facts of what happened. But as a jury trial, I'm not the decider of facts. The jury is the person that decides who's guilty and who's not guilty.
Okay, that's good. Toussaint, did they cover you, brother?
Yeah, I was just one other thing that I've just, as we look at what's on as judges, you're a judge, and then we have the issue that we were talking about before. How much of your personal life comes on display when you are in the public eye? Or do you try to kind of back up and keep that private? Or can you?
I mean, as an individual, you are who you are in public. I try to stay professional when I'm in professional environments, but if I'm hanging out with my friends, then I'm going to be casual and more comfortable in that environment. Either way, your character is your character. You can't change that. So if you see me out in public and I'm at a restaurant, I may be more casual. I might be in jeans and, I'm a normal person.
Yes.
But I'm hopefully very friendly and professional when I'm in a professional environment. If that answers your question.
I think it did. I think it
did. Yeah, you good.
Okay. Yeah. Willa, you have a question?
Hey, Raheem.
Good morning,
yes,
Willa.
I got a question. I'm from good morning, team. I live in Chicago, Illinois, and there are two counties that I'm familiar with. They're Cook County and DuPage County from on the local level. And I have a question about like child support. Like this one incident where this young lady, she was living in Cook County area. And then in order to make it much harder for her baby's father, she moved to DuPage because she knew that they had a more of a harsh, or should I say strenuous, child support cases where it would be more in her favor. So my question to you is do you guys ever think about something to put in place to stop the manipulation of how people are? Because it makes some things worse than it does better. Because is on the local level. The different laws are on the local level. Is there at any time you guys are all going to come together and say, well, I know if I go to court, this is what I expect. No matter if I'm in Illinois, if I'm in Michigan, if I'm in Indiana. You understand what I'm saying?
I think I understand. Okay, and just to clarify, family stuff is done in Superior Court, not state court, just so you know. But judges can only do what they have the right to do, and jurisdiction is what dictates which level of judge where hears whatever matter. The problem with that is state laws vary. So what is a DUI may not be the same in Georgia as it is in Michigan or Florida. The laws are not exactly the same, and the penalties are not exactly the same. That's legislature stuff that creates the guidelines for how laws are punished, and what the laws are. The judge just has to enforce what is the law in their jurisdiction. And jurisdiction is decided on, like family law, on where one of the parties lived, where the children live, where that kind of thing. It's not, you can't control who moves where to try to get in each court. You just, if it's filed in the proper jurisdiction, it may end up before you. And the proper jurisdiction is established by the law.
Absolutely. Without being too specific, has there ever been a situation where you felt your hands was tied as a judge?
No, not to date. Not to date. I mean, it's facts are facts, and sometimes you feel bad, like like, I hate to punish you for this. This is the law, and this is what I got to do. There have been cases where that has happened, and I've been like, you got some good arguments, and I respect your argument. However, this is the law, so I'm going to have to find you guilty. And maybe you mitigate the sentence sometimes based on what happened in that trial and what you perceive the intents were. But well, yeah. So I guess to some extent your hands are tied because you got to follow the law.
Exactly. Now, you said something early in the conversation about the level of remorse. How much does that weigh in your decision if they're remorseful or if they show no remorse at all? Does that weigh at all?
I'm sure it does. It doesn't determine everything, but if you got a person that's not remorseful, the likelihood of the reoffending is higher than a person who at least acknowledges they're wrong and is sorry for that. So it does come into consideration. You still have a guideline for where you are in sentencing, but you consider all things.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. What do you love most about being a judge?
I love that I have the discretion to sentence how I deem appropriate. Just like when you said where your hands are tied sometimes you got to find somebody guilty based on the facts, but you don't have to do a year to serve where you think that it wasn't that kind of sentence. I love that I can gear you more towards some kind of treatment or community service or that kind of thing that I think may help in returning back to the community what you've taken away, as opposed to just putting people in jail all the time.
Now, Judge Mathis, one of my favorite TV judges, will we ever see the Erica Dove show?
I don't think so. That is not in my plan. I don't have any intentions on any of that.
Okay.
But you never know where life takes you, right?
Exactly. Leonard, what's on your heart, brother? Leonard, you there?
I think she's a great candidate, definitely qualified for the job. Everybody in Gwinnett County. I'm very big on voting. Make sure you register and go out to vote. The judge has given out her contact information if you have any questions that you want to ask her. So definitely ask her those questions as hard as you want. I'm pretty sure she's qualified to answer.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think you would do a great job. I've seen a lot of judges and sat in a lot of courtrooms, and I'm always impressed at judges that insist on fairness in their court. And because I think it's left up to the judge to make sure that people are being ethical
Yeah.
when it comes to something so important.
Now, Leonard, I think you might want to do some clarity, brother. You say you sit in a lot of courtrooms, man.
Yes, that ain't really none of your business.
Okay. I think,
if you see me, holla at me.
Okay, Lord.
Minding grown folks' business, right?
I sit in a lot of court. Whoa, bro. Whoa. Hold on. Curtis, I'm just silly sometimes. Y'all don't pay me no attention. But Curtis, you have a question?
Nah, I was gonna piggyback L Dog. Sometimes I don't know per se. The judge might be able to speak on this, but sometimes the presence of people like Leonard can skew or alter the way a given prosecutor, because Leonard is an activist. Sometimes his presence or the presence thereof of many activists or many people believe in a cause, in which we saw during our Martin Arbery case, can skew or keep in line that which should be properly done in a courtroom, because a given prosecutor knows that, okay, hold on now, if I get out of pocket, Leonard, that activist that's sitting right there, is going to check me in the public. Reminded of the Martin Arbery case, when the defense attorney called themselves trying to say that they didn't want all these pastors in the church. And when you think of it from an optical perspective, and let's not even talk about a national optical perspective, but from a perspective of those set of people sitting in that courtroom, it's in my opinion that the fact that these pastors came together and were sitting in that courtroom demanding justice be done, be served, it set the optic to everybody in that courtroom that, hold on now, these are people of God. These are the clergy. And the clergy, and something wasn't right with this.
Yeah.
God telling me something. So I hope that Leonard shows up if I got a case going on, because his presence might just make some people get in line. And if you're going to prosecute me by the law.
Exactly.
And I hope and pray that whatever judge I'm sitting in front of, their last name is Dove or Brown. Because at least I know, as the person being brought up on these charges, that I have an impartial judge who is going to rule in an unbiased manner and is going to rule according to what the law says.
Absolutely.
Judge,
you want to speak on that?
I mean, there's really nothing to say. He said it all. I mean, yeah, you want your judge to be impartial and unbiased, and that's what they're supposed to be. I mean, it does apply pressure, but really there's a record of the events mostly. So even if you're not sitting in the courtroom, there's the transcript of everything that happened. It should be, in most cases anyway. And so a judge is always, because judges are appealed all the time. So there's a record, and any judge that is doing something improperly can be appealed based on, legal objections and that kind of thing. So yeah, you want your judge to be impartial, but a courtroom is open to the public. So anybody can sit there and observe any parts of it that are public hearings.
Okay. I'm going to ask you a question, and you certainly don't have to answer this question. I be silly sometimes. So, if you don't want to answer the question, that's fine. Before you go to sit on the bench and you're in a certain mood that, you're not feeling your best, what is a song that you could put on that would adjust your mood and make you put you where you feel you need to be to handle the situation at hand?
I don't have a song that comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
I will say old school music, and I say old school from 80s, 90s, 80s. I
Real
don't
old
want to
school.
date myself too much.
Come on now.
That's
Yeah.
the stuff that makes you smile and makes you want to, like get a little jump in you.
Yeah.
But I don't have a particular song in mind.
Okay. So when you say old school, you talking about old school Frankie Beverly and Mays, old school Earth, Wind,
Yes,
and Fire, old school.
absolutely.
Okay. I want to make sure you ain't talking about Usher. I want to make sure you ain't talking about Usher old school. No,
No.
disrespect, Usher. But you ain't
That's
old
what,
school.
but I'm trying not to date myself too much, right?
There you go. There you go. Leonard, any questions, brother?
No, man. Like I said, I think she'll be a great candidate, and the people of Gwinnett County need to get out and participate because just on this show alone, you've seen some change
Yes.
happening. People bringing different concepts to the table and the different visions for Gwinnett County. And I always say I would never live in Gwinnett County again. I used to live there, but man,
Wow,
what
thank you.
I see today
Mhm.
is just so hopeful.
Yeah.
Because everybody from all walks of life are encouraged to get involved. Remember, the sheriff department is hiring. Lots of these positions are available for people who felt disenfranchised
Absolutely.
to get
Absolutely.
involved in. You may be starting off as an entry-level police officer today and wind up running for judge later, because being motivated to go and continue your education. So it's ways to get involved, and it's great to see the people that come through here running for office and getting purely their views and how they feel about things.
Absolutely. And I have to say, I live in Gwinnett County. That's actually I've been in Georgia. I've been here. Well, I've been in Georgia a little long. I lived in Augusta for a while, but my whole time here in Atlanta, I lived in Gwinnett County, and I love Gwinnett County, man. People say what they want to say, but I love it here, man. I really do. And I couldn't see myself moving anywhere else. Maybe I'm just a little biased. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a little, but hey,
thanks to DKM Media and the people I've met and the political individuals in Gwinnett County, man, it has really changed my opinion. And I'm learning more. One of the things about Gwinnett, you have a lot of police. And so I've gotten to the point now where, I didn't used to want to see a police every 20 feet. 30 feet, in Gwinnett County. But I see the people in the change and their commitment to doing better on every level in law enforcement. And that shows progress from activists working, fighting with Danny Porter all the time, all that kind of stuff. The people are more compassionate. They more represent the population in in Gwinnett County now. So it's great to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. Rico, you have a question? Rico, you there? I think we might have lost Rico. Let me see what.
I'm right here. You just called me.
Yes, sir. You have a question?
Yeah, man. I want to take advantage of this before she leaves. I want to get back to her. I guess you can assume, or you can tell now that average human beings see people in positions of power, and then we start somehow looking at them differently. Some of us may get nervous. We have this perception that y'all are stern and, that y'all change up, that y'all don't remain human. We don't believe that a judge may go and twerk with her daughters for fun or gossip about, who's sleeping with who in the office. They're human. And, even Raheem just asked the question, what type of music you listen to. So you think sometimes when people get in certain positions, they jump in their pants with both legs at the same time. So it's good to have you on here to show people that you are human. And so I like the way that you broke it down with that about the judgments, because it really shows that you have a sense of compassion. You could easily go by the book and give an in general sentence, but you said something key. You look at each case individually.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And you can look at the law and say, well, you know what? I could throw the book at him technically, but I understand after listening to the facts that this person had no choice but to make the decision they made. Maybe they had to steal their meds because their children were hungry, and it's proven. Somebody said, well, I don't care about the children being hungry. You stole. And that's your third strike.
Mm-hmm.
You say, well, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and sentence you, but I'm going to suspend it because I have some compassion as a human being to understand that sometimes you just can't stick to the rule of law, even though you have some judges that take opportunity to do that. So I think it's awesome that she mentioned that, because if you listen enough and read in between the lines, she'll tell you what she is and who she is, what a person may be able to expect.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to ask two questions before she leaves, because it's important. Like I said, we just got to let her get by a few minutes. I know she's in a different field as far as, you know, the trials that she listens to. But what is her opinion about judges and prosecutors in Brunswick? And then my second question is, everybody knows, you know, we all got some lighthearted people on here. I'm one of these silly people too. So I got one last question to ask you before you leave. What is a woman?
Oh, goodness. All right, so Brunswick, I don't know.
You ain't gotta answer that. I'm just being funny.
I know. I'm not even. I was listening earlier, so I'm not jumping into that fire. But Brunswick, I'm not familiar with those people and their relationships, so I can't tell you about Brunswick. I don't want to tell you anything I don't really know anything about. So I'm sorry, I can't. I don't have an answer for you on that.
Okay.
But I am a woman, so there you go.
She said she is. Look, I'm country. She is a woman. I'm just country. I'm just as country as molasses and biscuits.
Stop. Yes.
Right, I have a question.
What's your question?
Your Honor, in everything that you do, right? I know that you have to study. Like you guys' study is far and beyond. Like if you guys were scientists, y'all would be like astrobiologists or something. Like you guys really have to study, right?
Right.
And the confirmation hearings, right? And I gotta ask you, did KBJ take us to school or did she not? Because I had this feeling like, hold on, I'm not watching just the confirmation hearing, but I'm sitting in class. I'm just curious from a judge's perspective. Did you feel like she was in school? Did you feel like she was really teaching art? What's the word I'm looking for? A class in judicial procedure.
A master
That
class.
was just a good on the long time.
A master class.
She's definitely a class act, and I think she represents herself very well. Nobody can take any of that away from her.
Absolutely. Well, Judge, we're at the top of the hour. We're about to get out of here. I want you, if you don't mind, say something to our listening audience and give them a way that they can get in contact with you if they have any questions, concerns, or whatever. But I will say this one more time before we even do that. I cannot tell you who to vote for. But I can tell you who I'm voting for. And if you look at the screen, you'll see the person. Certainly, I'm not talking about myself. So if you look at the screen, you'll know who I'm going to vote for living here in Gwinnett County. Judge, the floor is yours.
Thank you for inviting me. I've enjoyed this conversation. It's actually been kind of fun. So I appreciate that. Please find me if you on ericadove.com. That's where you can find out more information. You can even look up your own voting status on my page and all that. And if you reach out to me, you can either email me, you can find all my social media attached to that webpage. I've got the Twitter, I've got the Instagram, I've got the Facebook. You can find me any kind of way. Reach me via Facebook, Messenger, email me, whatever you need to do. Get involved. Vote. Please vote. Please vote. Please vote for me.
Yes. There you go.
And I think that's it. I thank you guys for having me. It's been a lot of fun.
Good deal. Glad you had a good time. And like I said, again, thank you. Thank you very much. Rico.
Yo.
What's going on at 3:00 today, sir?
Well, if you missed today's broadcast and would like to hear it or see it in its entirety, you can tune in at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on www.dklmediagroup.com.
Now, I got to acknowledge someone. They late for today, but they're early for tomorrow. Who are you with a T? Good morning. How you doing this morning?
Yeah, I didn't want to. I'm early for Monday. I want to be here on time. Monday morning. So I
Oh,
said, let's
gotcha.
go on and get this thing to a tail end for any but that line and get lost.
I just wanted to let you know that we definitely appreciate you, sister. You know, I wish you would have been here to ask the judge a couple of questions. 'Cause I know you had some questions as well. But we about to get out of here
I
right now.
know you too.
But we
It's all good, but I love y'all though. Good show, I know.
hey, love you as well, sis. Willa,
Amen.
Willa,
I'm ready, Raheem.
are you ready, Willa?
Yes, sir.
You sure?
I sure am.
You sure you ready?
Amen.
Let's
I'm
go.
ready.
Let's
I'm
go.
ready.
Let's go.
Amen. Father God in heaven, Lord, we thank you. We thank you, Lord, for allowing us to get up to see another day, a day of opportunity, a day of a journey, Lord. Father, we pray that we're aligning ourselves with your purpose in our lives, oh Lord. Touch that young lady who was on the radio broadcast this morning, Lord. Father, whatever her heart desire is, if it's a desire for you, oh Lord, Father, give it to her in the name of Jesus, Lord. Father, we thank you for the union that you bring between each and every last one of us, oh Lord. Father, we thank you for all you do in our lives. Touch our families, Lord. Touch each man on this line, oh Lord. Strengthen them, guide them, show them how to lead and be the man that you made them to be, oh Lord. Touch each woman on this line, Lord. Show her how to be the woman that you designed her to be in the men's lives, oh Lord. Father, we thank you so much. We thank you so much for all you do and what you're going to do. Touch Raheem and allow continually success to be in this life. And I pray for these things in Christ Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. And amen.
Amen. There's no other way, Judge. There's no other way we can end this thing. We have to end it with that.
Absolutely.
That's the only way. That's who we are. And so, but I want to thank everybody for joining us. It's now 10:03. I want to thank everybody for joining us, and more than that, I want to thank you for allowing DKM Media Group and Associates and the Morning Glow for being a part of your morning. It is 10:03. You're about to exit the Morning Glow, but before you go, I want you to do me two favors, if you will. One, I want you to continue to pray for us because we're certainly praying for each and every one of you. Number two, why this is real simple. I want you to go out there, find somebody, and give them a hug because you never know. It could be the only hug that they get, or it could very well be their last. Love you, and ain't nothing you can do about it. Have a great day and a better tomorrow. And that we shine some of this light on you from the morning glow. Take it out there into this wicked and cruel world that we live in and let your light so shine. If you get an opportunity, give somebody some love. You just might find some love in return. Won't that be a beautiful thing? Have a great day. Stay blessed. And please, please love each other. Have a great one. Take care. Out.